Okay, so this is the planetary alignment, aspects, and degrees in regards to the full moon in Scorpio that is opposing the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. No intro, so that's it, and I'm getting straight into the signs. Hi, Aries. Okay, we're doing the full moon in Scorpio, which opposes the Sun in Taurus, and Uranus is in Taurus, and the Sun does conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So I have put up the planetary alignments that's in play and the degrees at the beginning of the video, if you wanted to look at that and see if anything matches your natal chart. So there's two sets of Aries here, um, and it's your money access houses. So it's all about money, 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 money. Uh, uh, so I'll take the first set of Aries. Rather, sorry, um, Aries. Some of you are leaving a job or getting a new job, but there's some travel involved. There's some of you are relocating somewhere, ending something here, and then relocating um, to go there to for this job. Oh, gee, sorry, it's my pug. Um, and you're beginning all over again. So it's some kind of a rebirth for you, definitely. And but there's money going out here. Um, and Taurus is your second house of job, income, and value system, and Scorpio is your eighth house of finalities, joint finances, the mortgage, taxes and government benefits, loans, credits, banks, inheritance. Um, it's about the taboo. It's about the past, and like I mentioned, some kind of a death and a rebirth. Um, and there might be also um, you're gleaning something, you might be investigating something, trying to find the truth, or you have found the truth in some way. But this is for this sliver of Arians, it is about a job, an income. It's about money, and it's starting a new job, but there's a relocation, there's some kind of a finality that you're wrapping up, you're finishing, and then it could entail, yes, this relocation thing and starting over, and you're actually very excited about this. Now for other Aries, it's about the erratic way that your finances have been fluctuating, and you're ending the way you've been handling money. You're because we have also the moon in Scorpio trining Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So there's something about the past that you've learned, and it has to do about money and how you're paying bills, or maybe lending money or giving out money. And um, here you're finalizing, like, that's the end of that. You're not going to be doing that. You're going to be setting up something stable. So, I mean, it can be as mundane as, if you're always overdrawn, you set up something like an overdraft protection uh, checking account or something like that, or you're starting a savings, like two savings, one just for savings and one just to cover like unexpected bills and what have you. But there is a big, either one or two big ticket items that you're having to pay, or debt that you're consolidating, something like in that sense. Now we also have Juno in Scorpio, uh, opposing the Sun, and of course Uranus in Taurus. So something about a commitment, um, about your eighth house, about joint finances, or the mortgage, or maybe taxes, maybe your taxes. Um, there's a problem with that, that you have to file extra paperwork, or maybe you've um, asked for an extension or something. But there's some kind of a commitment here about resolving, yeah, maybe taxes or government benefits. And for some areas who have separated or are separating finances, again, there's something of a finality here as well. Now we do have Jupiter in Gemini that does square Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So on one hand, um, we've got the Moon in Scorpio trining, so your Saturn and North Node. So there's something learned here, and you're committing to setting something up more stable. Um, Jupiter and Gemini. Gemini is your third house of day, short distance travel, neighborhoods, siblings, um, social media, and that's squaring Saturn and the North Node. So that just says that you have something still to learn, maybe about your Gemini related house, third house. So communication devices, maybe, or cars. Uh, Again, short distance travel or buying, selling, siblings, that you still have yet something to learn and learn from the past. Um, yeah, that's what's going on. And then we do have a square from Mercury to Pluto. Why don't I have it here? Sorry, let me just see. Yes, Mercury in Taurus will square Pluto in Aquarius. And, Pluto in Aquarius, again, Aquarius is your 11th house of groups, friends, associations, memberships of any kind. Um, and you've had some challenges here, power struggles, maybe conflict, control issues, maybe. And you can think back to 2023, the beginning of 2023. That was a wake up call with in regards with friends, groups, and associations, uh, and maybe a verbal conflict. Um, and again, it might have been about your values. And then, of course, the end of last year, the fall, um, that wasn't as severe. But yeah, there's some kind of a control issue, power play. Um, and what you want to do with Pluto, of course, is it's self discipline, it's self control. So, whatever issues you may have had, um, it's about the input of everyone, working together with everyone that solves this. Now, there could have been one particular person of influence um, that you might have had an issue with. Sorry, that's my pug. Um, and with this Mercury in Taurus, again, there might be, yes, a verbal altercation. And it might be about your value systems again, squaring Pluto and Aquarius. Maybe a friend, maybe it's about a friend that was pushed out of a group, um, or one of these people is like bossy in a way. But that's what's happening for you right now. Now, we're still coming off of that Mars Pluto opposition. Of course, it's releasing now, getting better. But if you remember what I told you about that Mars Pluto opposition, and I do have a video for that, um, it did crack something um, where you feel that it's not reconcilable. Leo is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, like a creative project, pets, and gambling. And again, Aquarius is your 11th house of groups and friends. Now, the sun here opposing the moon in Scorpio, sun rules Leo. So this money that you're having a concern about or you're paying out, it might be in relation to a child or a creative project might be costing you a lot. Um, it could be in reference to a romance. That could definitely be it. But the full moon disclosures are always, try not to make hardline, life altering, permanent decisions on a full moon because it's emotional. The moon rules our emotions, and Pluto is a very intense sign. Um, but if there is some kind of a conflict or stress, um, it may be about the truth. There's this signifier that the truth, or trying to find the truth, or getting to the truth. Um, and your value system is all up in this. Okay. Well, let me just check one thing. Mm-mm-mm. Uh, um, Also, some of you could be maybe graduation, grad school. Um, Maybe that's the finality, and it's transformed you to being this new person. Um, and also your mom or a mother or a matriarchal figure maybe in the picture somehow in the background because it's the moon. So that's what this full moon in Scorpio opposing the Sun and Uranus in Taurus is about for you. Aries, of course, another disclosure is that something about your job, your value system, or your income, there might be some kind of a surprise. Um, Uranus is the planet of shock and surprise. Maybe you're surprising your bosses and putting in your notice or something like that, or it could be another kind of a surprise, unexpected. Um, and um, oh yeah, so then we did have a new moon in Scorpio back the beginning of November 1st. So this may be whatever you started back then in regards to eighth house matters. Um, Again, that's joint finances, inheritance, the mortgage. This might be the wrap up, the conclusion, or the fruition, the culmination uh, of something there that started back then on November 1st. And the Sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus, this is just a very powerful aspect. Conjunctions can be intense, but and there's like a surprise element to this. We did have a Sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus back on May 13th, 2024. So, almost exactly a year. And that was at 23 degrees, 6 minutes. Um, there might have been, again, it might have had something to do with a lover, a romance, or a child for some of you. Um, and there's a surprise factor. But you can check, your text emails or call logs, maybe. I don't know how far you keep them, but maybe it'll trigger a memory as far as what the Sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus happened for you last May 13th. Um, and that is all I wanted to mention. Just, be careful of your words, any verbal altercations, because Mercury and Taurus square Pluto and Aquarius can be um, can be volatile, can be explosive. I'm saying can be because Pluto is now retrograde, so Pluto is a little muted. All right, Aries, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I do answer all questions. Um, yeah, just self control and discipline. All right, take care. Hi, Taurus. Okay, this video is for the Scorpio full moon, uh, which is opposing the Sun in your sign as well as Uranus in your sign. So, Scorpio is your seventh house of partnerships, all kinds of partnerships, personal, platonic, business. Anyone who knows you really, really well, who can hold up a mirror to you, it would be considered a partner. So, a friend who knows you very well can be a partner. Your mother can be a partner. Your cousin can be a partner. So, all kinds of partnerships. And it is also the house of open enemies. You know who they are. So, with this full moon in Scorpio at 22 degrees, it is bringing a partnership um, to an end, or it could be a very serious question about it, um, or it could be a culmination, a fruition of your past efforts here. So, think back to the Scorpio new moon on November 1st last year. Um, Something new was birthed in your partnership house. Um, some of you could have just gotten into a partnership then, and it is now culminating or coming to fruition, or it could be ending. Whatever you two have gone through, either you've made it and you're taking it to the next level, or you're saying your goodbyes. If you're partnered, also something new happened in regards to this partnership back on November 1st. For some of you, it was you've been having this routine scheduling conflict, or something like um, being in love, being in a partnership. If it's a intimate or personal partnership, it hasn't been fun. It's been a lot of work, and you had something new here, or you were seeding the hopes of something new. For others, you went through a me versus them kind of a situation, inclusive of your partner, like maybe your partner and their friends or your partner and their family. Or it could have been, is it me and my partner versus them, um, kind of scenario. Um, and you just didn't, you were trying to figure out where you stood in this partnership. So on this full moon, you're reviewing the past 6 months of where you've been with the partnership, um, and you are making a decision, some kind of a very serious, and it can be an emotional decision here. Um, the other thing is let me look at the chart again. So the Sun and Uranus in your sign. Well, that's your first house of image, your physical appearance, your profile, and of course, for the past 6 or 7 years, you have completely changed physically, um, and it can be as mundane as just wardrobe, hair. Maybe you've become pregnant over these past 6 years, and you've just changed. Excuse me. So there's something regarding your partner that is opposing this change or the way you appear, and it's coming to a head here on this full moon. Excuse me. Now, if you and your partner are solid and everything's fine, there's nothing going on seriously about this partnership. Um, this doesn't affect you as far as an ending. But there's a component of this partnership that's either being put to bed, or it's like I said, maybe there's a scheduling conflict of some sort, or this, not having fun with this partner. Maybe that is coming to an end because what you've tried so far hasn't worked, or it has, and you're just, you're moving on. Many of you, and in the background, I will say that there's money involved for you guys. It's about joint finances and your income, your own income, um, and your partner's income. But for some of you, um, well, you're a fixed sign, and you're very weary about um, not having like money to the side or savings. Uh, and for many of you, your partner might not have the same values as you, and you've tried to work that out. But for some of you, it just keeps returning to the same old about money and joint finances. So many of you have taken steps to squirrel away money unbeknownst to your partner, for some of you, um, and you have been maybe testing a partner to see uh, if uh, if they would change, but you still did something of a savings for yourself. I don't want to say behind their back, but unbeknownst to them, because you don't you don't trust other people with money. You have your own specific way of savings, and if your partner is not on board with it, you will do something to have security. Okay, for Taurians, it's best to have the Taurus people handle finances, and many partners will agree with that. But for some Taurus, they might have a partner who's wanting to handle the finances, and you've seen that not work. So the money issue is also a part of this. Um, and for some of you, it has to do with maybe the mortgage, um, the home, or expenses, and you have reached out maybe to parents. Maybe parents have helped. Maybe it's your parents or his or her parents, and that is being brought up also on this full moon. So um, the other thing is Juno is in Scorpio, and it also opposes your Sun and Uranus. So Juno is about commitment, and it is now retrograde. So when it was first direct, there was some type of a commitment asked of you, or you asked of a partner. And now during this full moon, as you're reviewing it, you're reviewing the whole situation with a partnership. That commitment is also under review because it's retrograde. So that the talk about a commitment is also being mentioned during this full moon, or during these days around this full moon. This full moon is intense. Scorpio is an intense sign, and your partners are very intense people. Um, they can be probing, um, and there is something about maybe secrets, maybe about the past. It could also have to do with government benefits or taxes. Um, and again, money, maybe debts, or other people involved that have helped you with money. It could have been your parents who've helped with this. Now, we do have the moon in Scorpio trine Saturn and the North Node in Pisces, and this is a very supportive aspect. Um, so it's Pisces is your 11th house of groups and friends and associations. It's also how you envision yourself amongst others. So whatever the culmination is here, or fruition, or an ending, it's getting the support of Saturn. So you've learned something through friends, um, in regards to partnerships. Maybe you discussed, oh, let's say, for example, you've discussed with a friend that uh, your partner has a money problem, like me, they can't hold on to money, and you want to handle the finances, but they're opposed to it. So you've had maybe a friend help you or teach you something, um, and that is paying off here somehow. But you also have Jupiter in Gemini squaring Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So Gemini is your second house of job, income, and value system, and that has been steadily expanding and growing for you since last summer. And the square to Saturn and the North Node just signifies that there is a little bit more to learn here. So again, maybe a friend or a group is trying to teach you something about your own value system, or about your job, or income. Maybe you're getting references from friends or groups for a job. But the one thing with you is, because we have Pluto in Aquarius, and that's your 10th house of career status and reputation and authority figures, um, you're wanting to be um, in charge of your own career and status. Um, you're wanting to take charge of of what your job is, what job you want, or how much of an income you want to make. So many of you might have your own job, and you might be doing something on the side as well, or you may be just switching jobs. But there's some sort of a learning curve still here, um, and it might be some kind of a restriction, but that will be soon ending, at the end of May, because Saturn will leave Pisces. So any obstacles or restrictions you've had in regards to friends, that will be ending. Um, but this Jupiter in Gemini squaring Saturn and the North Node in Pisces, it has to do something about the past, and some kind of a learning curve. It might be as mundane as you're a public speaker, or you're a teacher, or you train people at your job, and there's just some tense aspect that's coming up during also this full moon. Um, but on the whole, it is either an ending of a partnership or a collaboration or a business partnership, or maybe even, like I mentioned, the open enemies concept. Uh, it may be, that is put to rest, that conflict. Otherwise, it's a culmination, a fruition of what started on November 1st. It's coming to light here. Now, I always mention, do not make hardline, life altering decisions during a full moon. Give yourself a few days, give others the same amount of time, because the moon takes about 2.5 days to switch signs. And then you have then, a clear picture. You just don't want to be making emotional decisions during a full moon. The moon rules our emotions as well. So emotions are going to be intense and high, and you will be one of the signs that will be affected the most with this full moon in Scorpio. Check your natal chart to see where Scorpio falls in your natal chart. Also, those degrees. And I've put up the degrees in the very beginning of the video for you. Let me see the other thing that's going. I just want to cover all Taurians. I think I mentioned, but if I did not, there is something about mortgage or a home, or a change. Maybe it's contractors. Um, Now, the Uranus, Sun conjunct Uranus, that's pretty powerful. And that's in your first house, though. It's about your image, like I said, your profile. So down the line, I mean, it perfects on the 17th. So there might be a surprise element. You might like come out with something surprising in the next few days, because Uranus is the planet of shock and surprise. So we really don't know how Uranus will act, or how you will act with Uranus being in your sign. We did have a Sun conjunct Uranus last May, 2024. It was at, I think, 24 degrees then. So if you want to check your texts or emails to see, it might trigger a memory for you. And Scorpio is also ruled by both Mars and Pluto. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. And Mars and Pluto have just had a very, very powerful opposition. It is releasing, and Pluto is retrograde, so things are a little easing up. But so yeah, both rulers of Scorpio have been in a battle. So your partners are embattled. They have some conflict within themselves, or maybe with others. Maybe it's about their job, but it'll be different for different Taurians. So there's something embattled about your partner, and it may be that your partner has multiple obligations. Maybe they're caring for a parent, and that's sort of hurting your finances. Or there seems to be, your partner seems to be like being pulled in different directions, and you might be one of the pullers here. But there is some sort of us versus them, or me versus them thing going on. And like I said, many of you have like squirreled away some private savings or something. But there is something of wanting to know the truth, or investigating something. So that is the full moon. Just give yourself and others some space for this before you make any decisions, Taurus. I just want to make sure. Yeah, and family, home, maybe taxes, is playing out in the background with this. Sorry, I'm just making sure I'm covering everything with Taurus, because you're one of the signs that'll be affected the most. But you have stabilizing Saturn, so you are going to have help from a friend, and this friend might be from the past, and there's karma here. You might have helped this friend, and they're helping you now, teaching you something very important, but it's significant. It's crystallizing something for you. So that's a very favorable aspect there. All right, Taurus, if you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments. I do answer all questions. And then I'll talk to you soon. I'm going to be putting out Saturn and Aries for all signs soon. All right, talk to you later. Hi, Gemini. Okay, so this video is on the full moon in Scorpio, which is opposing the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. First off, Scorpio is your sixth house of health, habits, routine, any kind of ritual, scheduling, taking care of someone, and small pets. It is also called the house of chaos and gossip. And Taurus is your 12th house of behind the scenes, of secrets, of the past, of spirituality or faith, confining spaces. And, oh, why did I draw a blank? Yeah, of all of that. They call it the house of self undoing, but, I think that's just a hallmark kind of a saying of it. You actually have power over the 12th house. Um, but it is about spirituality and faith and the past mostly, and whatever secrets you have. And you've had these surprises or upsets um, come up suddenly uh, regarding the past or secrets. In any case, a full moon is either an ending, a fruition, or culmination of your past efforts. And the past efforts in regards to Scorpio, we did have a new moon in Scorpio on November 1st last year. So there might have been a new schedule, a new routine. Maybe you started a new job, or maybe you were seeding the hopes of something here back then. And this is now the fruition of your hard work here. So you might have perfected a schedule or a routine. Otherwise, it can be about your health. Maybe as mundane as a gym membership um, or just short distance travel, running errands, and what have you. And you you are a very fast talker, and you are able to juggle many things at the same time. So take that with routines as well. But there's some intensity during this full moon in regards to any one of those components. So again, if health is an issue, or maybe a health problem, God forbid, came up in November, here, your hard work in investigating what was going on is paying off, and you're knowing what it is. Otherwise, for many Geminis, it could be that you've been working on something. It could be school. You could be graduating or completing a course or a certificate or a thesis maybe, or an essay that you've been working on really hard, or what have you. It could also have to do with a job. Maybe you had a project that was really intense, and you're seeing the results of your hard work here pay off in some sense. Now let me, oh sorry, um, um, just the only thing is, I mean, it is a full moon, so it is emotional, and Scorpio is an intense sign. uh, but I'm just, for those of you in regards to health, uh, this full moon is good because you might see an ending to maybe a health situation. um, you might get results that you've been going back and forth with, maybe tests or doctor or something, for the past 6 months, and here you are maybe passing uh, some kind of test in regards to your health. Or it could be maybe dental procedures that you started, and now you're finishing up. This full moon brings an ending or culmination of it. Um, and I also mentioned like major assignments that you might have had been working on, and now you're maybe handing something in, or you're getting accolades for it. You might also hear something about your job or workplace, because the sixth house can have to do with work. So your company, you might hear that um, it's relocating, and you need to make a decision whether to go or take a severance, or maybe take on a different role. Um, and it might be a group of you, like other employees in your department, something like that. Or maybe your company's downsizing and you're taking on more work for those you know other employees who are being terminated, or they're switching positions, and you're taking on some work here. um, this full moon also has to do with money, because the moon rules Cancer, and Cancer is your second house of job, money, and income. And Taurus natally rules the second house of job and income. So there is definitely things having to do with money. It's related to something about your schedule, your routine, or your health. Excuse me. You might be having expenses that are coming up, and you might, um, uh, well, with the Scorpio moon opposing the Taurus sun and the Uranus and Taurus, um, with these expenses, Sorry. It can be as mundane as maybe you've had an extension on taxes, or something is about your taxes have to be redone, reviewed, uh, or like I said, you took an extension and you were kicking it down the line, and to during this full moon, uh, this is coming up, or it might be that you're between jobs, and like I said, if you've had this health uh, issue or dental procedure or what have you, and your income there's no income, or your income is not covering it, you might be applying for government benefits um, to get help with your medical bills, maybe. Um, uh, yeah, because you might receive news of maybe a big expense that you have to pay a debt you have to pay. Um, but let me just check one more thing before I go on to the next. Well, with Uranus being in the mix, there is some kind of a, like I said, maybe it's a sudden expense or a surprise, um, and it has to do either with the past, or you could have been keeping this a secret, like you haven't maybe told your partner, and there's some kind of, maybe your partner is like investigating to see like where's the money going, or what is going on. So that might be there now. Scorpio is ruled both by Mars and Pluto, and Mars and Pluto have been, we've had that serious opposition between Mars and Pluto. Uh, and that's affecting Scorpio, of course, and that's your sixth house of routine, health, and scheduling. So there's some kind of embattlement happening with your schedule. Now, it can be just, as mundane as you just have a lot on your plate. Uh, and their family might be involved here uh, because you seem to be running around helping somebody, or maybe your parents. Um, and well, now that Pluto is retrograde and the opposition between Pluto and Mars is separating now, you're seeing some kind of a relief. Uh, Again, if it involves school or writing or something like that, like I said, that relief that you get from being stretched in different sides, that's coming to an end. Um, but just on a full moon, the advice is always, do not make try not to make hardline life altering decisions during a full moon. um, Scorpio is a water sign. It is a very intense sign, and the moon rules Cancer. Cancer is also very emotional and sensitive. So uh, if you're wanting a raise, I would not, be demanding one right now. Just give it some days. Give yourself and others some space and time. Usually the moon moves 2.5 days to a different sign. So at least give yourself a few, 2, 3, 4 days of, give yourself and others time for this before making a change. Or um, if you're coming into a new job, you might be a manager or something like that. Try not to come in right away and say, well, these are the changes we're making and we're starting now, next day. Come in easy, like just come in and don't make changes, and then make changes gradually, if with everyone's schedule, if that's what's going on in the background. And in regards to maybe you and a partner, maybe you have children and your partner is feeling the full burden of taking care of everything, or it could be you. Uh, and during this full moon, the discussion between you and a partner might be, okay, this schedule is not working. This has to change. Uh, or you could be like feeling like you don't have any time for yourself, or to be with maybe, guys' night out or girls' night out. Again, with this full moon, you're saying, okay, I need this time. Or it could be the other way, where, your partner might be saying, okay, you're not giving your all with the family. You're being too much with friends. That it could be that. Otherwise, you could be taking care of someone, and that is also infringing on your time, or it's just become too intense. You might also be in the healthcare field, maybe, um, and maybe that is weighing psychologically on you. It could have to do with taking care of a parent. or parents, or scheduling them, taking them around, or maybe to doctors, or just being there for them. It could be that. So what I'm trying to say is, on this full moon, you've been reviewing, like, something has to change here. Juno is also in Scorpio, and it is retrograde right now. So when it first entered Scorpio, Juno is about commitment, some serious commitment or obligation, and you might have made that, and now with this full moon, and Juno being retrograde, um, you're reviewing that commitment, and it's coming up during this full moon also. Like, oh, you made this commitment, you have this obligation, and you might be saying, well, this came up, I didn't know that this would come up, and this has come up, so we have to review this commitment. That could also be playing out. um, we have also Mercury in Taurus that will square Pluto in Aquarius. So again, talking or thinking about maybe a secret or something that you're holding close to your chest. Um, Maybe it's about the past, um, and that's maybe coming out during or after this full moon, because and it's a surprising element. And like I don't know if I mentioned this, but you've had like surprises or upsets about secrets, about something of the past that has happened during the last 6 7 years, um, out of the blue. So you've learned that it's not a great idea to keep secrets. um, or it could be that you tell too much about your plans, and not keep things to yourself, and you've learned that you need to keep some business to yourself. But there's some kind of probing, some kind of questions that come up, investigations. Again, maybe it's about the past or a secret, because we do have the Sun conjunct Uranus in your 12th house of secrets. That's going on. I mean, it's almost perfect. It'll be perfect on the 17th. That's why I'm saying, after this full moon, after this ending or culmination, something of a surprise is coming up regarding the past or secrets or taking care of someone. Um, and then we also do have Jupiter and Gemini in your sign, squaring Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So, since last summer, you have been pushed to the front. There's something magnanimous about you. But with this square in Pisces, Pisces is your 10th house of career status, your reputation, and authority figures. So there's something of a learning curve here, in regards of being magnanimous. Um, Saturn is saying try not to promise too many things to people. And the restrictions you've had with maybe authority figures, that's going to disappear by the end of May. But um, that's for another story. And I think I mentioned that in your May horoscope, um, because Saturn will move on from Pisces to Aries. Now, we do have the moon in Scorpio, does trine Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So that's a very supportive aspect. And that's a big deal. Even though it's a trines, usually we don't feel them, but this is a big deal, because Saturn is a serious sign, and it's almost at the critical 29 degrees of Pisces. And Scorpio is a very intense sign, and we have a full moon here. So you are getting accolades, in regards, you've kept yourself beyond reproach as far as your reputation is concerned, or status. And you are getting accolades from authority figures here, very supportive aspect, and you will feel this trine. So that's a very good sign. Um, Mercury in Taurus, squaring Pluto in Aquarius. So thinking, talking about the past, about secrets, maybe about a creative project, or taking care of someone, or maybe about your faith, your spirituality, and it is. And then Pluto in Aquarius, that's your ninth house of foreigners, higher education, long distance travel, publishing. Um, you know, it, this could be a war of words. Uh, Again, maybe about something about the past or secrets, and this foreigner. Otherwise, a square can also be good. It can jumpstart something that's stale or stagnant. Uh, and if you were wanting to travel, or maybe something you were waiting about, something about higher education or certification or publishing. Here you get maybe a brilliant idea, or you get a nod, you get a message um, that something will work out. It can be that kind of intensity. Pluto is also retrograde now. I mean, it just turned retrograde, so it's almost stationary. So pay attention to any epiphanies you get here regarding higher education, travel, a foreigner, and something in secret or about the past. Um, uh, yeah, and also check your natal chart to see where Scorpio is in your natal chart. You might not have anything in Scorpio, but check to see where Scorpio is, and you'll feel it in that area of your life. Also, check the degrees to see what else it triggers in your natal chart. So that is all about this full moon. I'm just checking to make sure I covered everything and every Gemini. Um, if this is about a relationship or a romance, um, uh, you might a romance might have felt like it's hard work, or a creative project, or a child, or having fun might have felt like work, and it had to do with this scheduling conflict, with this routine that you might have been being pulled in two different directions, or taking care of someone. So that ends here. That culminates, and you move on. But that is about it. If you have any questions, do leave them in the comments. I do answer all questions. And then I'll be talking to you soon. I'm going to be doing Saturn and Aries for each sign. So I'll speak to you in that video. Take care, Gemini. Hi, Cancer. Okay, so this is the full moon in Scorpio, and it does oppose the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. I did put up the degrees and the aspects in the very beginning of the video if you want to check those and match anything to your natal chart, and check your natal chart for where Scorpio lies, what house is being affected, so which area of your life. So as far as the sun Scorpio, or sun Cancer, moon or rising, well, for the sun mostly, and the moon, Scorpio is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, um, pets, and gambling. And it can be gambling, like casino gambling, but it's also the gamble you take on life. It is the house of fun, lighthearted fun, um, entertainment, and all that good stuff. So we have a full moon here, and it is relating to the new moon that we had in Scorpio back on November 1st last year. So something new had started back then, um, or you seeded the hopes of something new. And here it is the ending of what you started then, or it's a culmination, a fruition of your past efforts. Um, if it's an ending, it is not about the married cancers. It is about the cancers who may have started like a relationship, a love, a romance relationship, uh, maybe back in November, a brand new one, or you could have, um maybe had, maybe you were just dating and you became a little bit more serious or steady. In any case, here on this full moon, it is either ending, because maybe you found out something, that you guys are not compatible. Um, I will say that it is an intense full moon, and you will be one of the signs most affected by this. And because it's opposing the Sun and Uranus and Taurus, you might get a surprising news from a friend or a group about this romance or this lover. It might be about their ethics, or maybe they saw something or heard something and they're relaying it to you, and it is can be intense, and that's what's causing this ending for those of you that will be ending this romance or lover. um, and for those of you that have had serious doubts, or clues about this, that's most likely how this will play out. A friend or a group might give you some um, surprising news, and it can be intense, um, and that's why the ending here. And you're ending this romance or love. For others, it can be that because Venus was retrograding, and now it's direct, and you two have survived, maybe any intensity here. It's just a culmination, a fruition of what you've endured, both of you. I'm still talking about the romantic ones, the ones with love interests. I'm not talking about marriage, because marriage is ruled by the seventh house. Um, and that's not what this is about. This is about love or romance, the fifth house. So yeah, if you guys have survived this, you might be taking it to the next level, maybe going now steady, or moving in, or getting engaged, or setting the date, because that status of your love and romance, whatever it has been the past 6 months, is now culminating to the next level. We also have Juno in Scorpio, um, and it's retrograde, and it also opposes the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. So there was talk of a commitment, a serious commitment, with a lover or romance, and um, whatever this ending is. Um, Whatever this ending is, it might be, that commitment might come up again. Uh, it's under review, and it might come up with this full moon ending. So if you're ending it, a romance might be, or a lover might be saying, well, you committed to this, or something like that. You committed to, you know, talking about it, or going to, well, couples counseling can be also with a lover. It doesn't have to necessarily be with a married partner. Um, so there's some talk of commitment here, or you might be the one questioning, investigating. What about this commitment? And again, it's opposing both the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. So uh, again, maybe friends, or a group is saying no, go, no, forget about this commitment thing. It's not a good thing. Um, Also, Taurus is your 11th house of groups and friends, but it is also how you would like your hopes, your dreams, um, of envisioning yourself amongst people. So this full moon may be ending with ending a romance, or a lover. It might be concerning to you of how you are seen, like ending it. You might have that at the back of your mind as well. And again, if if everything's fine, you're going to the next level, um, you might just have, see, oppositions are not necessarily bad. They can be good too. So if you're mentioning, maybe you're having an event, like, okay, we're going steady now, we're going to have maybe an event at our place, a celebration, a dinner, or something like that, with friends, in regards to taking it to the next level with a romance or a lover. It might be your friends and their friends, his or her friends, getting together. Oppositions can work that way as well. Or if it's a negative, if it's an ending, you're, again, this news, with friends or groups, they may be sort of like, I told you so kind of a scenario. Um, the other thing is, this might be playing out with a child or your children. Um, and and the it with a child or children, or maybe even a creative project, it can have to do with money, or a value system. A child or children, it could be adult children, and they're going through their own, maybe, hot mess of a relationship, and you're involved somehow, and it's about values, because Taurus and Scorpio are the natal money access houses, okay, and value systems. Taurus rules the second house of job, income, and value system, how we personally value ourselves. And Scorpio is the eighth house of joint finances, and how other people value us, um, but joint finances as well. So it's money access house. So, um, I mean, it can play, money issues or joint finances can be playing out with a romance or a lover, but it might be about your children, or a child, or an adult child and their partner, and there's money. There's something about money, the mortgage, and values that's in the background that's playing out. Otherwise, um, it can also be about taxes or government benefits. Um, or it can be, like I mentioned, creative projects. Maybe you're in school, and it could be that there's a culmination of a creative project that you've been working on. It doesn't necessarily have to be in school. It could be at your job, your employment, or your own business. Um, Maybe it's about social media. We do have the moon in Scorpio, trining Saturn and the North Node in Pisces, which is very nice aspect. And trines, we always say, there's soft aspects. We hardly will feel them, but because you are one of the signs that will feel this the most, and because Scorpio is such an intense sign, and this full moon is a very intense full moon, uh, and Saturn is a very intense uh, outer planet, you'll feel this trine, and this is a very lovely aspect. So again, something about your fifth house of love, romance, children, or creativity is getting the approval of Saturn, which is in your ninth house of higher education, long distance travel, foreigners, or publishing. So there might be that connection as well. Um, but yeah, whatever you're culminating here, whatever you're passing, whatever you've completed through hard work or whatever, and you've learned something, Saturn, you're getting a trine from Saturn. So maybe you're publishing something and you're getting accolades, or you're passing a test or an essay or a thesis, um, or it might be about a foreigner or a travel plan. Maybe you're ending something. Um, Maybe you have a romance or a lover that's a foreigner, um, and it might be immigration, and that may be happening because you're ending the status that you have, and um, the obstacle may have been immigration or long distance, or you might be traveling to be with a romance or a lover, or they may be traveling to you, or again, if it's a creative project, it might be publishing something here. Now we do have Mercury in Taurus that is squaring Pluto in Aquarius, and Taurus again is your 11th house of groups and friends and how you want to be seen amongst them, and Aquarius is your 8th house of joint finances, how other people value you, taxes, credits, inheritance, and all that. So there's talk, there's brainstorming, thinking amongst groups of friends, or about a friend, or with a friend, or through a group um, that is maybe costing you some kind of how other people value you, or it could be about joint finances. Um, Maybe a partner is not approving of your groups or friends. But again, also squares can be good. Squares jumpstart something that's stagnant or at polar opposites. So I mean, it can be intense verbal conflict. Or on the other side, it can be, probing, getting to the bottom of things, of how people feel about you, maybe, and how maybe a partner values your friends, uh, or how you value your friends. So that square is happening as well. And then we do have Jupiter in Gemini squaring Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. And Gemini is your 12th house of behind the scenes secrets of the past, of your faith and spirituality. Um, and you are a very like faith oriented type of a person. I mean, if you're a very spiritually oriented person, you believe in things like that. And the square to Saturn in Pisces, um, this is just like Saturn is trying to crystallize something for you in regards to your ninth house of foreigners, long distance travel, publishing, or higher education. And whatever you've been working on something behind the scenes or in secret for the past year, um, that's also coming to fruition. And it's with the square, it might be just a matter of a few more weeks before you are ready to disclose what you've been working on behind the scenes. Now, um, going back to the full moon in Scorpio opposing the sun in Taurus, the sun is the ruler of your second house of job, income, and your value system. And the sun will conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Mm. The sun also is the ruler of Leo, and Leo natally rules the fifth house of love, romance, and children, and creativity. This, like I said, there is this ending, finale, culmination, or fruition of something about a lover, a romance, or it can have to do with your child or adult children, or a creative project at work or school, um, or maybe helping out somebody. But there's a surprising factor. There's a surprise factor, and it can play out in two ways. It can be like you hear something that's jarring about a romance through friends, or it could be like a surprise party um, that is celebrating something about your romance or a lover or a child. You may even hear about a pregnancy. It could be yours, or it could be adult children. So those are the many scenarios that it can play out. There's many cancers, and there's a lot of different scenarios that it can play out. Now, uh, Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio, and they have been recently in a very tough battle. But it was the opposition. I do have a video on that. They opposed each other. It was very volatile, but it's separating now. And Pluto's also retrograde, so Pluto's giving us a relief for a few months. But yeah, there was something about, again, either a lover, a romance, or a child um, that was embattled somehow, or being pulled into different directions, or opposing something, and you might have felt it through that. Um, this is also clean up on aisle 5. Like it's I mentioned in, maybe the May or April horoscope, is that we're tidying up, cleaning up loose ends and things that have happened in the first quarter of this year. Um, so January through March, uh, sort of April, and an extension of what happened last year. And this full moon ending is, again, because it was the new moon in Scorpio on November 1st. Now it's the culmination of it. It's just cleaning up the last remnants of what has been going on, because mid-May and forward, it's just all new stuff. I mean, big things are coming with Uranus and Jupiter. So that's very exciting. That's coming up too. Um, you might be looking at traveling too. There might be something in the cards for you about traveling. I think I mentioned that, if I didn't. Mm. And some of you are into publishing, but publishing might be about like taboo subjects, or um, like noir things, dark stuff, but interesting concepts. A lot of you are in that. And also, for those of you who've had Mars in your sign, you might have had some ailments. Um, something simple as a cold or flu, or stubbing your toe, or getting a paper cut or a splinter. But for some, it might have been a little more serious than that. God forbid. But again, Mars and Pluto coming apart now from that opposition. That energy is dissipating. So do take care of your health as well, if there's anything there. Um, that is about it, Cancer. If you do have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I answer all questions. I will be talking to you next with Saturn going into Aries, and what that means for each sign. That'll be for the next 2.5 years. So that'll be my next video. I'll talk to you then. Take care. Hi, Leo. Okay, so this is a dedicated video for the full moon in Scorpio um, that opposes the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. And I have the aspects and the degrees in the very beginning of the video, so you can match it to your natal chart and see if any of those degrees fall in your natal chart and where they hit. And you can also see where Scorpio what area of your life it affects. But for generally for Leos, Scorpio is your fourth house of home, family, your parents, your country. It's about your pride and your patriotism as well. And Taurus is your 10th house of career, status, reputation, and authority figures. So we have a full moon in your. So I'm going to be referring to Scorpio as your fourth house and Taurus as your 10th house. So we have a full moon in your fourth house of home and family. There's an ending here, or a culmination, a fruition of your past efforts, and most specifically to whatever new that you started back during the new moon in Scorpio in your fourth house, back on November 1st of last year. Something new about your fourth house started there, or you started seeding the hopes of something new to happen here. And this ending or culmination is opposing your 10th house of career, status, or authority figures. So there's, you know, some Leos will be ending a family situation, and that may not, sit well with authority figures or in regards to status or your reputation. Now, this can also have to do with money, something about money, because Taurus and Scorpio natally are the money access houses, um, or value system, how you value yourself and how others value you. Now, there's a surprising element to your 10th house of career and status and authority figures. And you've been having this shakeup with your 10th house on and off in the past 6-7 years. With the Sun conjunct Uranus, it's very close to the conjunction, super close, but it's perfected on the 17th. But there's a surprising element that that ends something in your fourth house, something about your career and status that is a surprising element or a shock factor that is contributing to this ending or fruition in your home and family sector. It might be your own, home and family. And when I say home, I'm talking about your physical living space. So it can be a home, or it can be an apartment, or whatever living situation that you have. Uh, for some of you, you have moved last year or this year. You recently moved, and you've been having problems with maybe the landlord or with the mortgage, or something to that effect. And I've mentioned in other videos, I don't remember which one, but most of you will move again. There's a big move coming up for you guys. But let's stick to this full moon and opposition to the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. Now, we do have the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus. The Sun is your natural ruler. And the conjunction is a serious aspect. It illuminates something here. So something about your career and status is being illuminated. But there's a surprising element, and we really don't know what the surprising element is, because it is Uranus. It does do the shock factor. But you are not one of the signs that will be mostly affected. Um, but but there is something of a finale in regards to your home and family. Now, it might be your own parents that something happens there, that there may be an ending. And again, that sort of opposes your career and your status or authority figures of some kind. There might be an issue. If it is your own parents, you just might be concerned with your reputation, or how you may be seen, or something like that, if it's sort of the feelings kind of way. But if it is a physical ending, some of you might be changing careers. Your company may be relocating, um, or and you may be having to relocate because of your company relocating, of your status changing. You might be having to end this current home and family situation that you have. Again, some of you have been having problems with maybe landlords or the mortgage company or something like that. And there is money in the background, something about money or how others value you or how you value others. We do have Juno in Scorpio that opposes the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. Juno is all about commitment and obligation. So there was also an agreement uh, about a commitment or an obligation in regards to your home and family and your parents that will also come up here, that will also be reminded here. But it is retrograde. It is still in review, but somehow that comes up during this full moon. We also do have Mercury in Taurus that is squaring Pluto in Aquarius. So there's talk, discussion. It might be a verbal altercation in regards to your status, your reputation, or authority figures. Um, and that verbal altercation might be about, again, your 10th house of career and status with a partner. Or it might be about a partner. Now, again, you're not one of the signs that'll be mostly affected. Plus, Pluto is retrograde, so it's I don't want you guys, being worried too much. Pluto is giving us a relief because it's now stationed retrograde, even though it still hardly moves anything. So I consider it almost stationary. So pay attention to whatever verbal communications there is about your status, your career, and a partner, because that'll give you an epiphany or a revelation of some sort about a partnership and your status. A square can also be a good factor. It sometimes will jumpstart something that's stagnant or stale. Now, as I've mentioned before, you do have um, powerful partners, and it is about control issues. It's about power plays. So the 10th house of career and status and authority figures, it might be some authority figure, maybe a boss or an investor or a business partner that is communicating something here to you. Um, Again, and whatever communication it is, it might be about your status. Remember, status is married, not married, single, not single, and so forth. The moon in Scorpio, though, does trine Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So this full moon ending or culmination is actually getting some kind of accolade, or something is easily working out in regards to joint finances, intimacy, inheritance, uh, taxes, or government benefits. Maybe because it's also about, banks, credits, loans. So you might have been looking for a home to purchase. Um, and here with the trine, you might be getting the credit you need, um, so that you leave this home situation. You're ending this home situation and getting a new home. Um, that trine might work out that way. And trines, we usually say, you people may not really feel it because trines are such soft aspects. Sextile is a supportive aspect. Trine is more like things fall in place without you even putting in an effort. But since it's a full moon in a very intense Scorpio, and Saturn is a very serious outer planet, and it's happening at 28 degrees 58 minutes, almost at that critical ending 29 degree, you will feel the trine. And this is a very lovely coming together of an ending or a culmination of home and family, and again, joint finances, mortgage, taxes, government benefits, or loans, which is very good. Now, that's the trine between the moon, Scorpio, and Saturn. But then we have Jupiter in Gemini that's squaring Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. And Gemini is your 11th house of groups, friends, associations, a friend, or how you envision, your hopes of how you want to be seen amongst these people. And this has been expanding for you since last summer, this 11th house. And it is a tense aspect to Saturn in Pisces. Again, your 8th house of intimacy and joint finances and the mortgage and all that. Squares can also be good. Squares jumpstart things that are stagnant or stale. So It might be friends of influence, a group, um, an association that helps something in regards to a mortgage, a loan, taxes, or government benefits. Somebody might be working in the background there. Maybe it's a close community, extended family, or something that's working uh, to secure something in regards to maybe government benefits or loans that's helping you out. Mm. But in to recap or in summary, this full moon is an ending or a culmination or a fruition in your fourth house of home and family and your parents. Um, and with the opposition to Taurus, your 10th house, this might be, some of you might be getting married here. So you might be leaving your living situation or your parents, and you're getting married, and you have this new career status because it's opposing your single status. Let's say that the opposition can work in that way, because oppositions can be good. Actually, I like oppositions. Do not fear the oppositions. It can be that way. Or if it's your parents, again, it might be some kind of a split that's taking you by surprise, and that you're a very proud sign. You might feel that opposition to your career and reputation. You might think that may look badly on your reputation. It can also work out that way. Um, I'm just trying to think of the different scenarios that can be going on. Um, Scorpio also rules, the eighth house of transformation, inheritance, the past. So you could be uh, with this, because it's an intense sign. You might be probing, investigating something about the past in regards to your home and family or your parents, or you might have some kind of a regret here. Um, and there's the double factor of Pisces also being in your eighth house. Hmm. Yeah. And with Mars in your sign, both Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. So again, if it is your own family, your own partner, um, with the power plays that you've had or the control issues that you've had with a partner, it might be your own, you know, you and a partner that's calling it quits here, or separating, or like a wait and see kind of factor. But there is talk about your status. For many of you, your partners are powerful creatures. They have some kind of a power, or they're movers and shakers. They and you are relying on them for something, and that's why you're hesitating to rock the boat here. But again, Pluto has started going retrograde, so you'll be getting the relief here. Um, but with them both ruling Scorpio, and Scorpio being your home and family, we just recently had that powerful opposition. I have a dedicated video for that, um, between Mars and Pluto, and them both ruling Scorpio. Your home and family is somehow embattled between each other or amongst themselves. There's something intense that's going on there. Um, but yeah, to recap, it's an ending of a home and family situation, or it's about your parents, or it's a culmination again about your home and family. You know, it could be you and a partner, or it could be again about your partner, your family, or you could be into politics and it's about your patriotism. But something is culminating here, something is ending here, and it's opposing your status, your reputation, and authority figure, or authority figures. Um, and or again, wherever you're living, the living situation, condition, you might be dealing with dilapidated um, living situation, and you're wanting to change that, and here is the ending of it, or the culmination of it. So if you have any questions, you can throw them in the comment section. Otherwise, I will be talking to you. I'm doing Saturn and Aries for each sign for the next 2.5 years. So that'll be the next video. But just watch your health also, Leo, because Mars is in your sign. And especially with that Mars Pluto opposition, it's still in play. But just watch your health. Any, like little accidents, stubbing your toe, paper cuts. But because Mars tends to do that, and especially with Pluto opposing it. Yeah, take care of your health. Try to get lots of sleep. Again, if you have any questions, you can throw them in the comments. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Hi, Virgo. Okay, so this is a dedicated video for the full moon in Scorpio. Oh, sorry, that's my pug snoring. This full moon in Scorpio does oppose the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. I have put up the degrees and aspects in the beginning of the video. If you want to match those degrees to your natal chart, see where they fall. Or just, see where Scorpio falls in your natal chart and Taurus. And you will get, another layer of what this could be about. But generally for Virgos, Scorpio is your third house of communication, communication devices, commuting, modes of commuting. It's about social media, siblings, cousins, a close community, a neighborhood or neighbors. It could be about vision, eyesight, and language. And you are the master of communication, a language, um, and writing, publishing. You are ruled by Mercury, the higher octave of Mercury, and you rule the higher education. And Gemini is co-ruled by Mercury, is ruled by Mercury also, but he rules the basic or elementary part of education. So this is your forte. This is your strong point, as far as Scorpio is concerned. Um, but you are not one of the signs that will be affected the most, unless your birthday falls around September 14 or 15, something about that. You might feel it more than other Virgos, but for the most part, this is actually a good place to have a full moon of any. But let's look at it a little bit further. So the full moon in Scorpio is opposing the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. And Taurus, let me make sure, 1, 2. Yeah, and Taurus is your ninth house of higher education, traveling, long distance traveling, foreigners, foreign places, publishing, and the World Wide Web. So something that you're, and if I didn't mention it, a full moon is an ending, yes, but it's also the culmination or fruition of your past efforts. And more specifically, of something that was started back on November 1st or the beginning of November last year, if it's a culmination or a fruition. And it's opposing, your ninth house of publishing, higher education, and all that. So oppositions can also be good. I always say, do not fear the oppositions. Embrace the oppositions. They can actually work out really well for people. So if it's a culmination, it might be something you started maybe on social media, or something about a language. Maybe you were learning, maybe something about language, or and with the opposition to the ninth house, it might be your speech class, and you are getting tested here, and you pass, with flying colors, where you're ending a speech class because you've passed it, or you're graduating. Um, it might be you've been communicating with maybe a foreigner, maybe through Skype, or something like that, and you're ending that form of communication, and maybe doing a different form of communication. And this foreigner might be, in opposition to that. Not like, no, let's stay on Skype. I don't want to just be talking on texting or talking on the phone. I want to see you. It can be something like that. Otherwise, it can be, you're you're publishing something, and your research has been completed now. It's culminated, and you're ending whatever communication that you've done. And it might be part of your graduate work, because ninth house is higher education. Or you might be like ending your short distance travel because you're going to do a long distance travel. You're running around, maybe it's, immigration, visa status, tickets, getting tickets, or setting up shop somewhere else, and you're ending this neighborhood and going on uh, to something else. Otherwise, it can be maybe social media, and you're attracting all these foreigners, maybe on your social media page, um, because well, both Mars and Pluto do rule Scorpio, and they have Mars and Pluto have recently been in a battle, a very powerful battle. I do have a separate video for that. Um, so there's something here about your communication or your basic learning level, maybe learning a language, um, maybe learning, yeah, a different language, a foreign language, or a lexicon or a vernacular. You might be studying to be a nurse, and they have a totally different lexicon. And you're getting, you've completed that, and you're passing this test, and you're getting your certification, or you're graduating. It might be that, oppositions can work that way as well. They could be good in that sense. Or it could be that you might be moving neighborhoods, and and maybe there's your old neighbors, and they may be foreign or foreigners, and they may be opposing to you leaving, because you guys get along really well. I'm just trying to give you different scenarios, because I don't like saying uh, the general factors only. Just giving you different scenarios so it can be relatable, or you can take a clue of it and then prescribe it to your own personal situation. So that's why I try to mention different scenarios that are going on. We also do have Juno in Scorpio, so but it's retrograde. So there was also some kind of a commitment or obligation that you had, in regards to your third house, and that is being mentioned during this full moon, or you're thinking about this, because this full moon, like I said, you're not one of the signs that'll be affected the most. So this can just be mentally. This can be just in your psyche, because Scorpio also rules the eighth house of the past. We've also joined finances, taxes, government benefits. Um, so this might just be internal. hmm that would apply to the Mars Pluto opposition, the embattlement within Scorpio, because both Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio. So this might be like an internal conflict, um, that you might be communicating within yourself. Maybe you're talking to yourself, and that's quite all right. That could be quite okay. Um, and with Pluto being in Aquarius, your sixth house is involved, maybe in the background. So scheduling routine, deadlines, taking care of someone. And for many Virgos, I have mentioned, but just for sake of new listeners, you guys are doing two, three things in as far as money or job. Um, but they're not traditional, or um, there's something of a freelance or a gig work, maybe, or you might be an independent contractor of some sort. Um, you might be a writer as well, because we've got Taurus, your ninth house of publication, publishing rather. Well, publication, yeah. Um, so you're setting something up. You've been setting something up. I mean, you might be in a traditional work environment, but you also have something on the side, or maybe a startup. Again, maybe on top of your traditional work, you might be doing extra work through like a gig opportunity or a freelance thing that's going on, because you've been worried about money, job, um, or joint finances, inheritance issues. Some of you are being supported by joint finances, but you have started something else to compensate or just in case. Yeah, yeah. For some of you, you are doing like two, three different things in as far as money is concerned, because also Scorpio and Taurus are uh, natally they are the two money access houses. So your own income and somebody else's income, or somebody supporting you if you're in between jobs or you're doing these startups until like you make it. Um, so that's also playing out in the background. Also, how you value yourself and how others are valuing you uh, are maybe in opposition, and that can be in a good way. Where I've mentioned this before for Virgos, they go through this imposter syndrome, and they might not be valuing themselves um, as much as they should, and you're and others may be pointing out that they value you, but you might think otherwise. There's that talk, because we also do have Chiron in Aries, so past wound or hurt about how others value you is in the background too. Um, which brings me to the trine. We have a moon in Scorpio, again, your third house, that is in trine with Saturn and the North Node in Pisces at 28 degrees, 58 minutes, almost at that critical 29 ending degree. And trine is a very nice aspect. A sextile is a supporting aspect, but a trine is something that comes together almost magically, like without any effort. It clicks. So this ending or culmination of your third house um, is because the result of something that you learned um, um, through a partner or from a partner, and it can have its roots in the past. Could be a previous partner. And again, partners are not only personal or intimate, they can be platonic or business. Okay. And also, partners, anyone who knows you really well. Your mother can be a partner, um, your friend can be a partner. So, again, something that you've learned. Um, maybe you learned from your mother or a friend, or again, from a partner. So, yeah, um, whatever's ending here in your third house is having it's just flowing really well with what you've learned about a partnership, and it has its roots in the past, or it's karmic in nature, or it might be karma. You might be owed karma, and here is with this ending, uh, there's a payback of karma for you, because it's a trine. So it's a very, very lovely aspect. um, And then we have that trine, but we have the Jupiter in Gemini squaring Saturn and North Node in Pisces at the 28 degrees, 58 minutes. Gemini is your 10th house of career, status, your reputation, and authority figures. And Gemini natally rules siblings, communication, neighbors. And this has been, your 10th house of career and status has been expanding since last summer. You've had a lot of support here. Um, and with this square to Saturn and North Node, it just implies um, that there might be, this final lesson that you're taking in. I mean, we've only got 3 more weeks of Saturn in Pisces. The North Node will continue in Pisces till next year, but um, also, again, squares can also be good. They do not have to be negative. Squares jumpstart something. It is, yes, a tense aspect, but it jumpstarts something. And it's not like the big bad wolf here. It's Jupiter. It's a benefic planet. And Jupiter and Gemini. Um, Gemini is a mutable sign. You're a mutable sign. And you're both ruled by Mercury. So there's some reception here too. So the square can be good. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It might be about career status being elevated um, through a partnership. Hmm. Or it can be authority figures, some type of an authority figure, um, or someone of influence that is partnering up with you here. It might be that. Mhm. But let me just check one thing. Let's see. Um, yeah, the only again, it's not a sticky situation for you. It's not a bad full moon unless there's something in your natal chart. The third house is not a horribly bad spot for you. The only thing is this surprising element with the sun. Um, and Taurus, Sun and Uranus in Taurus. There's just a shock factor that is going to come in later on. The Sun will conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and that is on the 17th. So this ending might trigger something of a shock or surprise in regards to a foreigner, long distance travel, higher education. The Sun also rules Leo, and Leo for you is your secret place, the past. Um, yeah, something you might be holding close to the chest. Um, The sun also rules Leo, or I said that, sorry, but I meant Leo also is natally the fifth house of love, romance, children, and creativity. So that might be also playing out in the background, something about a romance, a lover, or it could be your child, um, or an adult child, and it can be about money. They may be, um, you might be helping them out with money. That could also play out here. So hopefully I covered all aspects, or gave you some good examples of what it can be about. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. I answer all questions. Otherwise, I will be talking to you in the next video, which is Saturn in Aries for the next 2 years and what that means for each sign. So I'll talk to you later. Take care, Virgo. Hi, Libra. Libra, this is a dedicated video for the full moon in Scorpio. Uh, this full moon in Scorpio does oppose the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. And I do have the aspects and the degrees in the very beginning of the video if you want to match those to your natal chart, or see where Scorpio and Taurus fall in your natal chart. And that just gives you another layer of what this could be about. Now, generally for Libras, Scorpio is your second house of job, income, and your value system, how you value yourself. And Taurus is your eighth house of joint finances, the mortgage, inheritance, taxes, government benefits, credits, banks, loans, um, transformation, the taboo subjects, and the past. That's what the eighth house covers. Now, natally, both Taurus and Scorpio are the money access house, and in reverse. So, natally, Taurus rules the second house of job and income, and Scorpio rules the eighth house. So very interesting for you, Libra. So this is all about money, 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 money for most of you. This is about job, money, um, and how that's playing in regards to your partner's finances, the mortgage, and again, uh, anything with taxes, credits, and things like that. So it's all about money for many of you. For another sliver of you, it's all about your value system and how others value you. And since natally it's reversed too, you can double that. Even though Libras will not be one of the signs that will be most significantly affected by this full moon, but since it is the money access house, and natally in reverse too, I'm going to say you're going to feel this as well. For some of you, it's just simply about your job. Um, for those of you who have not been happy, this might be ending. You're ending your job. You're putting in resignation, or you've found something else, and yeah, you're ending your job here. Naturally, you're ending that income, and you'll be moving on to a better placement, or it could be a promotion. It could be a promotion, or maybe your company is relocating. Maybe it's downsizing, and you're getting a little bit more responsibility at your job. Uh, Now, the opposition with Taurus um, is simply, it could be, mundane, as in oppositions can work. really well too. They don't have to be negative. An opposition can be a celebration too. So you might be making more money where it's adding um, to your joint finances, or you might be making more money and you're becoming the breadwinner, and somehow that you're making more money than a partner, and maybe that's the opposition. Maybe your partner is feeling a little inferior, or it could be in the reverse. You might be taking a salary cut, or and that's affecting joint finances, and the opposition can be in that sense, like, oh, joint finances is going to take a hit. It might be that. Now, the sun does conjunct Uranus and Taurus, but it's exact on the 17th, and that's where the shock factor comes in. There might be something surprising about joint finances, the mortgage, or something of that nature. Um, and it is due to this ending in your second house. Um, or it can be a culmination, Libra. It can be a fruition of your past efforts in your second house of job and income. And if it is a culmination or fruition, it is the direct result of the past 6 months of effort that you've put in here. Specifically, the beginning of November, when we did have a new moon in Scorpio. So you either started a new position, or you seeded the hopes of starting something, and maybe you've been sending out your CV or what have you, and here it's culminating. You're getting what you want. Otherwise, it could be a shakeup at your employment with your employer. It might be an opening where somebody moves on and you get this new position. You're upgraded, or you're taking on so much that you're needing maybe an assistant, and you get an assistant. It can play out in many different factors, but suffice it to be that it is regarding an ending or a fruition, a culmination of your job, income, and your value system, and it is somehow opposing your eighth house of joint finances and taxes, and that could be in a positive sense. Oppositions can be positive. In a negative sense, it can also be in a negative sense, yes. There's also talk about commitment during this full moon, or an obligation, because we do have Juno in Scorpio that is also opposing the Sun in Uranus and Taurus, um, or a review of a commitment or an obligation regarding your second house of job and income, because Juno is retrograde in Scorpio. Juno is an asteroid. She was Jupiter's wife, very jealous person, and she had a right to. Jupiter was a womanizer. um, Mercury in Taurus will square Pluto in Aquarius. So talk or thinking ideas or texting agreements regarding joint finances, taxes, uh, the mortgage. Uh, that is, that is squaring Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is your fifth house of love, romance, children, and creativity, and pets. So again, this might be about a lover or a romance, and there's talk about money, maybe joining money, maybe your boyfriend, girlfriend, you're moving in together, and you need to share expenses, or it could be about a child that's needing money. Um, and here we have a really lovely aspect. Moon in Scorpio will trine Saturn and the North Node in Pisces at 28 degrees, 58 minutes, almost at that critical 29 degrees ending. Uh, and a trine is a very, very soft aspect. Um, it's something that comes together without any effort, almost by magic. Um, it's not like a sextile. A sextile is supportive. So trines, we say, sometimes you won't even feel them, but I'm going to say you'll feel this, because it's a full moon in an intense Scorpio, and Saturn is a serious outer planet, and the North Node is karmic in nature. So this ending, or fruition of your second house, um, has the approval of something in regards to your scheduling, routine, taking care of someone, or small pets. So, yeah, um, whereas before you had scheduling conflicts, stipulations, restrictions, Maybe you were also taking care of someone on top of working or something like that. Well, this ending or culmination of your second house is giving you the perfect schedule or routine. Um, so you might be retiring, or you might be maybe doing work from home, maybe freelancing, um, maybe contracting work, and that frees up your schedule because you're getting a very nice trine to Saturn. And the North Node in Pisces, it might be karma that is owed to you in regards to all the efforts that you've put in with scheduling a routine, or maybe even taking care of someone um, in the past. And now it's your turn. Somebody's taking care of you. It can play out that way with the trine. And when I'm saying these aspects, these are not like an hour deal type of a deal or a day. These are significant aspects. So you might be feeling them before, during, and after. We also have Jupiter in Gemini that will square it, but this time it will square Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. And Gemini is your ninth house of higher education, long distance traveling, foreigners, publishing, and the World Wide Web. Gemini, yeah. So that area of your life has been expanding for the past year. hmm Um, but it's squaring Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So it is a tense aspect, a square, but a square can also be a good tense aspect where it jumpstarts something that has been stale or put in the on the back burner. Okay, so it can be good as well. But if it's a tense, air quotes, not good, it might be that a scheduling, that a school schedule does not work with your work schedule or routine. And it can be as mundane as that. And Saturn has this last stipulation, this last, you might be graduating because it's graduation season, but you might have to attend, I don't know, like a symposium or um, a lecture, or do a couple more hours to satisfy um, your graduation. So that might be the square. But why I'm saying like a 1 day symposium, or a weekend kind of a putting in extra hours, or maybe over the summer. Well, not over the summer, because the restrictions and rules that you've been encountering, and as far as scheduling and routine, will be lifted by the end of May when Saturn moves out of Pisces. So I'm just giving, it's just an example. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but I'm just giving you an example. So yeah, something about foreigners, higher education, long distance traveling, and something about scheduling or routine. And naturally, some of you can be wanting to do maybe a vacation or a long distance travel, but your current schedule routine, maybe you don't have any vacation days, or you can't take time off yet. That might be that square. Um, Also, um, siblings, cousins, or extended family, maybe, in the background in regards to this long distance or foreign situation. Um, the last thing I'll say is that with this Sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus, um, the Sun is also the ruler of Leo. And Leo is your 11th house of groups, friends, and associations. It also rules, the 11th house also rules how your hopes, your visions of how you want to be seen amongst groups and friends or certain associations. And also, Leo natally rules the fifth house of love, romance, children, and creativity. Um, so, with this surprising factor in regards to joint finances, inheritance, taxes, government benefits, and all that, those other areas might be in play. So, groups and friends, or a romance and children might be playing, in play there. But to recap, this is some sort of an ending, an intense emotional ending, or culmination or fruition in regards to your job, income, and your value system. Uh, and it's opposing your joint finances, uh, mortgage, taxes, government benefits. So it's your two money access houses, and natally it's vice versa. So this is all about money, 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 and more money, and about job. Um, and there's some type of a surprise element that you might feel at this new moon, or it might come a few days later because of this full moon ending or culmination. Um, yeah, because the conjunction is perfected on the 17th. All right, Libra, that is the ending of that. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I answer all questions, and I will be talking to you. Oh, I'm doing the Saturn in Aries for the next 2.5 years for each sign. So that'll be the next video. I'll talk to you then. Take care. Hi, Scorpio. Scorpio, this is a dedicated video for the full moon in your sign. Um, a full intense moon. Uh, and it does oppose the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. First, I have the aspects and the degrees in the very beginning of the video. If you want to match it to your natal chart, see if any of those degrees hit your natal chart, um, and where Scorpio and Taurus are in your natal chart. And that'll give you just another layer um, of narrowing down to what this could be about. But generally, for you, Scorpio, Scorpio is your first house of image, of your profile, of your physical self, of your persona, the armor you wear, the wardrobe, hairstyle, your trinkets or not trinkets, uh, and yeah, your physical self. Um, and Taurus is your seventh house of partnerships, all kinds of partnerships, intimate, personal, business, platonic. Anyone who knows you really, really well, who can hold up a mirror to you, would be considered a partner. So a really good friend can be a partner. Uh, your mother can be a partner. Your brother can be a partner. So anyone who knows you really well. The seventh house is also the house of open enemies. So you would recognize who is against you uh, here. And you've had shakeups and ups and downs, some roller coaster rides in regards to your seventh house of partnerships for the past 6, 7 years. And each year, it seems like you get a surprise or a shock and awe from a partner or in regards to a partner or a partnership. And here's another one coming. I'm laughing with you because we do have the Sun conjuncting Uranus in Taurus. Uh, and a conjunction is a powerful aspect. And the Sun is a very illuminating and powerful um, dynamic in our solar system. So something will be illuminated, but in a surprising, jarring, maybe exciting way in regards to a partnership. Um, and the full moon is something is ending about you physically, or how your profile is, um, or how you're seen, or it can be the fruition or culmination of your hard work here that you've done, and specifically in the past 6 months, especially the beginning of November. November 1st, we did have a new moon in your sign. So back then, you did start something new about your appearance. Or you started seeding the hopes of something new to to culminate in the future, and the future is now. Um, this is yet another factor of wrapping up the first few months of this year and extension to what was started uh, the end of last year. So this is yet another ending and wrap up. Uh, and it can be mundane as growing out your hair, and now you can do a ponytail, or it can be cutting off your locks. If you're a man, getting a clean cut, shaving off the beard, or whatever. Or it can be the fruition of exercising and losing the weight that you wanted, maybe after childbirth. Or if it's a man, it can be just being going to the gym and now seeing the results of it, shedding that old you. For most Scorpios, there has been since the end of last year, this beginning of this year, going home to something, or going back to doing something, going back to family, going back to community, um, going back to being maybe with siblings or what have you, or even going back home to live with parents, because maybe either you ended a partnership and it's just temporary that you're living back home, or maybe you've relocated, um, and maybe for a job, and again you're setting up shop, you're shacking up with your parents, maybe just temporarily. Um, uh, but yeah, for a lot of Scorpios, it's going back to back to community, parents, home, family, something, a relocation, something like that. So this full moon in your sign can be, the culmination of that, of leaving whatever was in the past. We also do have, before I move on, that's why I say sometimes oppositions are good. They work in our favor. So, shedding off that old skin, coming home to recoup, rejuice, coming back to your cousin siblings to reinvigorate or whatever, or relocation because of a job. Um, those You stand to benefit with this opposition. If it's in a negative sense, obviously it might be that you ended a partnership, and it could have been a marriage, or it could have been a business partnership. Maybe you invested all your money, and maybe it soured, that partnership soured or something, and you're just coming back home again to recoup. Or maybe you're coming back to home or somewhere near that to start this new partnership. It could be that. It can be a lot of things, but we do have Juno in Scorpio in your sign as well. So there's something um, about a commitment, an obligation, excuse me, that you have to yourself, to the way you appear, to how you physically look. And again, another scenario might be because maybe this new position, career opportunity, business, um, venture, private venture, contracting, whatever it might be, dependent on how you physically look. Or some of you can be pregnant and you're physically changing, and you're looking like a mom. Or you could have had a baby and now you've lost the baby fat, um, and it's opposing something about your partnership house. Again, an opposition can be good. Embrace the oppositions. People, do not fear oppositions. uh, so it can work out that way. uh, or you might be getting engaged or becoming serious or getting married, because that can end the way you appear to other people. um, uh, and your I mean, status, yes, is the 10th house, but just to remind you, your ruler Mars is in Leo, your 10th house of status. um, and status is single, not single, married, not married, married, not married. So Mars is hot and heavy in your 10th house, working its magic. Now, again, we also do have both your rulers, your traditional ruler Mars in Leo, and your modern ruler Pluto is in Aquarius currently, and Aquarius is your fourth house of home and family. So we just had that famous final battle between Mars and Pluto just at the end of April, and we're coming off of that. Um, and this opposition between career status and authority figures and your fourth house of home and family is a natural opposition. Again, another opposition that can be very beneficial for you. Um, but your ruler, both your rulers being in battle between your career and status and your fourth house of home and family, and they're both your ruler, it could be you're just embattled within yourself about these two areas of your life. It can be that way. But we do have Mercury in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. So there's talk, agreement, disagreement, verbal altercations in regards to your partners or with your partners. And it is squaring Pluto in Aquarius. That is your fourth house of home and family and your parents. Um, and I think I mentioned this before. This could be just a typical mother in law, daughter in law, son in law natural frenemy enemy. Something maybe about your partner that your home and family or your parents are disapproving of. And there's some kind of war of words, maybe. Um, but again, squares can be a good aspect as well because they do jumpstart something that's stale or stagnant, um, or something that was like put on the back burner. It's coming up again here. Um, and naturally, if it's a coming together of a partnership, whether it be business or a marriage or something like that, um, you might have family involved, and there might be excitement. And the talk might be excited. So a square can work out that way. Otherwise, if it's air quotes negative, it might be that your partner is not getting along with your home and family or your parents. But we do have a very nice aspect between with the moon in your sign, trining Saturn and the North Node in Pisces at 28 degrees 58 minutes, almost that critical 29 ending degree. And Pisces is your fifth house of love, romance, children, and creativity, and pets. So this ending, also this full moon, this fruition, culmination of your physical self and your appearance or your profile, uh, is actually coming really nicely. I try is something that comes together like with no effort, just like magically click. I always think of those magnets that just click, pull towards each other. So yeah, this ending, this change in you is definitely fulfilling some kind of something in regards to your love, romance, and children, creative and or creativity or pets. You might have had a learning curve here, and whatever lesson you learned here is helping you bring about this ending or culmination regarding your physical self, and it's approved by Saturn. And it might have been a lesson from the past about a romance or a child, or it could be the celebration of maybe a new child or an upcoming new child. Maybe somebody's pregnant. Maybe you're the godmother or godfather. It could be that way. It could work out that way, and you're very excited about being that, taking that responsibility, that commitment. Okay. Um, and then we have, though, Jupiter and Gemini squaring Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. Now, Gemini is your eighth house of joint finances, the mortgage, inheritance, taxes, government benefits, credits, bank loans, the past, taboo subjects, uh, air quote, death, and transformation. And no astrologer can predict death. That is God's job, capital G. Um, so your eighth house of other people's money has been expanding for the past year. And this square to Saturn and the North Node in Pisces at almost the 29 degrees can be, one scenario can be that you're applying for some kind of government benefit, but you still have to maybe fulfill um, something in regards to your fifth house. If you have separated, maybe this has to do with child support. It could be that. Um, and it's almost at the critical ending 29 degrees. Um, so it is. So you only have a couple more weeks for the restrictions that you've had in regards to a lover, a romance, a child, or maybe even a creative project or pets that will magically disappear. They'll be lifted. No one will care anymore. Um, Saturn has had his run for 2.5 years and will be leaving Pisces at the end of May. So those restrictions will be lifted. So that's why I'm saying it might be something that's been expanding in your joint finances, mortgage, that Saturn is requiring something here um, for your fifth house. And it can be about the past also, or karma, about karma. You're getting paid in karma with this ending, this full moon ending in your sign. But then you're paying in karma. It's like a swap almost. almost like a swap. Um, yeah, see how that works out for you. But again, squares can be good aspects. They don't have to be bad aspects. And if you are, taking on the mantle of godfather or godmother, let's say, for example, um, maybe you're buying a big gift of some kind for this new baby. It can work out that way. I'm just trying to give you all the scenarios. So just to recap, this full moon, you will feel this full moon intensely as you are the star of the show. And it is opposing something about a partnership or a relationship. And it can be, oppositions can be very beneficial. So it can be coming together, but just the coming together of opposite ideals and things like that. Um, or it can be, an ending of a partnership. And both your sign and Taurus natally do rule the money access houses and value systems, how you value yourselves and how others value you. So that is also playing out in the background. A job, income, values, um, joint finance. That's all playing out in the background somehow. Um, and also about probing or finding the truth of something or revealing the truth, maybe. Maybe there's a surprising, shocking truth about a partner that comes out as well. Um, Investigations of any kind. A lot of private investigators, or people like intelligence analysts and things like that. Many of them have a Scorpio stellium because it is all about um, investigation, probing the truth, your truth, their truth. Um, yeah, you're a very intense sign. It's all or nothing, and we wouldn't want you any other way. All right, Scorpio. So that is all that I have to say about this new moon. Just take care of your health. Be vigilant about that because there is a lot on your plate. You have been going through a lot too. But again, to remind you, this is a part of the wrap up of January through April and an extension the end of last year. And we're mid May and forward where it's all new, 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 new. So I will leave it at that. You can leave any comments or questions on in the comment section. I do answer all questions. Um, and I will be talking to you with the Saturn and Aries video for the next 2.5 years, what you'll be going through for each sign. I'll talk to you then. Take care. Hello, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, this is a dedicated full moon in Scorpio video. And this full moon in Scorpio does oppose both the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. I do have the aspects and the degrees in the very beginning of the video if you want to rewind to that and see if any of those degrees match anything in your natal chart. Also, if you want to just look to see in your natal chart where Scorpio and Taurus fall, and that'll just give you another layer of what this may be about. But generally, Scorpio, excuse me, for you is your 12th house of secrets, um, uh, of the past, of your spirituality, your faith, of any confining spaces, um, of any creativity that you may have. Secrets, the past, religion, faith, confining spaces, or taking care of someone. That's what the 12th house, that's what Scorpio um falls for you. It's the 12th house. And then Taurus for you is your 6th house of health habits, routine, scheduling, again, taking care of someone, and small pets. So there is an ending in regards to your 12th house of the past, of secrets, and all that. And it is opposing your 6th house of health habits, routine, and scheduling. Okay, so two things. One is oppositions can be good, they don't necessarily have to be bad. Um, and they're good in the sense that there's a benefit here to you because these two houses oppose. One is going to be the winner. One is going to have the upper hand, and so you may air quote lose in one area of your life, but you gain in another area of your life. It can work out that way, or it can be losing something in each house to gain something in each house. Okay, so I always say, do not fear oppositions, embrace the oppositions. But um, that the second thing um, is that we do have the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and that's very almost near, but it will be exact on the 17th, just a few days later. So there might be a surprise factor that emerges after this ending or culmination. And yeah, and you've had this roller coaster ride in regards to your health habits and routines for the past 6 years. Something seems to happen surprisingly that just leaves you scrambling with your routine and your scheduling almost every year. And this year, here it comes again. Before it finally Uranus finally leaves your sixth house in June next month. Um, but yeah, so there is an ending, or it can be a culmination or fruition of your past efforts here in regards to your 12th house of secrets in the past, or taking care of someone. And when I say culmination or fruition, it is specifically because of the new moon that we had in Scorpio at the beginning of November last year. So you either started a new project behind the scenes, or taking care of someone, or something about religion, faith, hoping for something, or you seeded the hopes of that. And here we see the fruition, the culmination of your past efforts. Now, this is a full moon is a emotional, um, intense aspect, and Scorpio is a very intense sign, and Taurus is a fixed, nobody to mess with. But you are not one of the signs that will be affected the most here. And this might be because it is in your 12th house. Uh, this might be just within yourself that you realize an ending, or you not consolidate, huh? Console some. You're consoled. You're within yourself. You're at peace. You let go of something, maybe because of the past. Maybe it has to do with something about the past. But there is some kind of ending here, culmination. And many Sages have gone through some type of bereavement. So this also can be about letting go of that. Because some Sages, even if this bereavement has been years, um, for some Sages, it's like not a day goes by without, remembering that person. It could have been a parent. Um, but here there's some type of a release, a relief. So that's why I'm saying opposition sometimes can be good, um, um, because it's opposing your health and habits, and your health might have been suffering because of whatever your psyche has been, because it's also your 12th house is your psyche, and Scorpio is such an intense sign. It's like an all or nothing sign. So your if your psyche is not comfortable, Sagittarius, it'll produce, God forbid, a health issue or an ailment physically. And if you're not healthy physically either, it can really mess up your psyche. So that's why both have to be in balance. And this is um, one of the steps to releasing that, to becoming healthy. And yeah, take care of your health. Be careful of your health. You might have had, some signs that have been creeping up on you. Um, so this full moon is also alerting you to that. I mean, it can be as mundane as, you know, getting a teeth checkup, and that cannot be mundane. That's sometimes very, very painful. But checkups, yeah, um, because you guys have been mired in this heavy duty Pisces water energy. Most of you have retreated somehow. Um, like I've mentioned before, a lot of you have had your fire dimmed down, and you've retreated, or maybe let go of yourselves, like taking care of yourselves, I meant. Um, and basically, yes, you find haven, comfort in being alone and being at home, or what have you. But like I mentioned in other videos, all these like full moons, endings, these squares, these opposites that we've been having in April, and it is the wrap up of what what we've been working on January through March, and an extension the end of last what we began in the end of last year. And this full moon in Scorpio is part of that. Again, the new moon in Scorpio was November 1st. So this is the wrap up, because mid May and forward, in June, July, it's all new, 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 new. Okay, but we just have this full moon in Scorpio. That's quite intense, and it's this stagler. Is that what they say? The stagler, like the last thing. Um, that's about releasing something, and releasing, and to have a full moon in the 12th house is actually really good. Um, it is peaceful. It is letting go of something. Um, the other thing is we do have Juno in Scorpio. That's all. That's also there. So something about commitment, obligation, um, in regards to the 12th house, taking care of someone, your psyche, the past, secrets, behind the scenes work, or what you're doing. So that commitment and obligation is coming up during this full moon as well. And it can be just you remembering it. It doesn't have to be somebody verbally saying it to you. Or it could be somebody verbally discussing that with you. But Juno is retrograde right now. So it's just in, it's about reviewing it, how far along you've come with that. We do have Mercury in Taurus that's squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And again, Taurus is, sorry about that, Taurus is your sixth house. So talk, agreement. In this case, it might be disagreement or verbal altercation, because it's a square to Pluto in Aquarius. And Aquarius is your third house of communication, commuting, siblings, social media, neighbors, and neighborhood. Just be careful with, innocently saying something, and it then ballooning into something else, like a verbal altercation. And with Pluto, it's always about self control, it's about discipline, to get the upper hand, because Pluto is about power plays and control issues. And Aquarius is your third house of communication and commuting. Um, so be careful with your health. Um, Habits or routines. And your third house, be careful commuting, short distance travel, going back and forth, sending the wrong text to somebody you don't mean to. Be careful what you put on social media. Be careful of like engine oil light coming up in your car. Don't put it off. Be careful of tickets, not paying tickets, and them becoming a giant pain in the you know what later on, because you do procrastinate, Sag. So be on top of that. Um, and yeah, just be careful of any verbal communication with siblings, neighbors. um, Make sure your insurance for the car is up to date, and then just be careful of your communication devices. If you don't have a cover for your phone, get a cover. uh, or those glass shields for the face of your phone, um, or joining, joining calls together, and just be upfront and make sure everybody knows they're on the same line. It's a square. Now we do have a supportive aspect. The moon in Scorpio will trine Saturn and the North Node in Pisces at 28 degrees 58 minutes. You know what that means? That means it's only 2 minutes away from the critical 29th ending degrees. So again, Scorpio, your 12th house, and Pisces, your home and family, your parents, um, your country, your pride, your patriotism. And Pisces also rules something about the past. Um, so again, whatever you're releasing about the past, about taking care of someone, about your psyche, about your faith, um, it has come through some type of something that you were taught, that you learned, um, about your parents, your home and family, uh, about your country that has some roots in the past. This is a very, very soft, pleasing aspect. Trines are. They're not like sextiles. Sextiles are like supportive aspects. You get support from something or someone. A trine is something that magically comes together, that clicks without your effort. It's like two magnets. Just put them away from each other just a little bit, and they just attract and snap together. So that's what like trines are. So sometimes you say, you probably won't feel it, but with this trine, you will. Because it is a full moon, that's pretty intense, very emotional, as well as Scorpio is a very intense sign. And Saturn is a very serious outer planet. And the North Node is all about karma. So you'll feel this trine, and it is a feel good. There is a feel good thing here going on. You also have Jupiter in Gemini, but this time squares Saturn and the North Node in Pisces, also that almost critical ending degree. Gemini is your partnership house, Sagittarius, and you've had multiple supporting partners for the past year. Whatever help you've needed, partners have come through thick and thin for you. And whatever this expansion has produced, it is squaring something about your home and family. It can be a tense aspect, so there can be a disagreement between your partners and your parents or home and family. It can work that way. Um, or it can be in a good way where it's coming together of partners and your parents. Maybe they're meeting for the first time, or um, maybe if you and a partner are deciding to take it to the next level, um, it can be some type of tense excitement with home, family, and parents. It can work out that way. Um, and remember, any restrictions, obstacles, rules, regulations, that will all magically disappear. It will be lifted at the end of May, because Saturn will be leaving Pisces and entering Aries at the end of May. Uh, and that, in a nutshell, is what this full moon in Scorpio is. It also does natally rule the two money access houses. So everything that I've said regarding this ending or culmination or release, um, and your health habits and all that, there's something in the background that's playing out about money, job, income, the income you make, um, and how you value yourself, as well as a partner's income, joint finances, and how other people value you. Maybe government benefits are inclusive in here, taxes, um, a mortgage, all that. The sun, I did mention the sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus, so some surprising factor about a routine, but the sun also rules Leo, which, for you is your ninth house of higher education, foreigners, um, long distance travel, publication. But Leo also natally rules the fifth house of love, romance, children, and creativity. So that somehow is playing out in the background. This could be about a lover or a romance, or it could be about a child, pregnancy or birth, or it could be about your adult child. Um, and this ninth house of foreigners, higher education, or something like that. That's all playing out, and money is all. It's all up. It's about a little bit of everything for you, Sag. So that brings me to the ending of what this is all about. But it is, and you will not be one of the signs that will be affected the most. Uh, it might be just a being alone moment and releasing the past or epiphany of it. Mm. Yeah. So release, ending, or culmination. If you have any questions, Sag, leave them in the comments below. I answer all questions. Otherwise, I will talk to you. I'm doing your Saturn in Aries. Saturn will be in Aries the next 2.5 years. So that'll be the next video. I'll talk to you then. Take care. Hi, Capricorn. Hope you're doing well, Capricorn. This is a dedicated video for the full moon in Scorpio. Um, and it does oppose the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. Um, I have put up the aspects and the degrees in the very beginning of the video. So if you want to check that and match to see if any of those degrees match your natal chart. Um, Also check out where Scorpio and Taurus are in your natal chart. That'll give you another layer of what this could be about. But generally, for you, Capricorn, Scorpio is your 11th house of groups, friends, a friend, associations, memberships of any kind, um, or groups of groups or subgroups. It also rules your hopes, visions, and dreams of how you want to be seen amongst these people. It's your vision, future outlook about things like that. And Taurus for you is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, pets, and gambling. So we do have a full moon in Scorpio. So there is some type of an ending or a culmination or a fruition of your past efforts in regards to your 11th house. And when I say culmination or fruition, specifically, it's because of whatever you started on the new moon in Scorpio back in the beginning of November. You either started something new with a friend or friends, um, or you seeded the hopes of how you want to be seen amongst these friends back then, and now you're reaping the rewards of your hard work. It's coming to a culmination. It's or a fruition of what you've put into it. Otherwise it could be a friendship ending, an association ending, a friend being pushed out of a group, maybe, or you maybe stepping out of a group, um, or you ending an association with a group. It could play out in that scenario. You are not one of the signs that will be affected significantly. Um, so sorry. Oh my God, yawn came out of nowhere. You, I crack myself up when I do that. You're not one of the signs that will be affected the most, and rightly so. You really don't do drama, and full moons are dramatic because they're emotional. Scorpio is a water sign, so that's even more emotions. Scorpio is an intense sign. Um, and having a full moon in Scorpio is a very drama, intense, emotional time. And you don't do that. You're just like, leave me alone, let me make my money. um, Keep the drama out of it, and it will be out of it. You won't, you don't set yourself up for that trap. So that's why I'm saying you will not be one of the signs that'll be affected most significantly. But this has to do with about a finale, an ending, or a culmination. Um, it Now the Sun will conjunct Uranus in Taurus. It's very very close to the conjunction during this full moon, but it exacts a few days later on the 17th. So this ending or culmination in your 11th house does trigger something of a surprise factor about your love, romance, um, children, a creative project, pets, or gambling. After you release whatever it is in the 11th house, um, or you end it, or you harvest the fruits of your labor. A few days after that, something surprising happens with a lover, a romance, a child. It might be, um, it might be a pregnancy, or it might be about your adult children, or it might be about pets. Now, we did have this conjunction last year in May last year. I think it was on the 13th. So a day, a year to almost to the date. We did have the same conjunction. So if you want to look up any text, emails, phone calls, it might trigger a memory about that conjunction. But for the most part, you have had this roller coaster ride in your fifth house for the past 6, 7 years. And each year you've had a surprise or two. And if you haven't had a surprise this year in regards to your fifth house, this is it. You think Uranus was going to leave Taurus without the last bang surprise? Yeah, no. Uranus is going to do something surprising here. So if you don't want any children, for those of you who don't are not, just be careful with that. But for those of you who are, this can be a really, this conjunction can be that. You might be finding out that you're pregnant, your partner is pregnant, or something like that. We do have, and the opposition that's happening between your friends and your romance house. This simply simple text translation can be you're making a lover out of a friend, or your lover started out as being a friend and has turned into something like, more as a lover or a romance. So that's classic textbook translation of that. Could be that. Um, or you may be feeling this energy. Like I said, you won't be one of the signs that'll be feeling this significantly. So you may be feeling it through a very close friend. Um, like your other half, your shadow, this friend that's just inseparable from you. You might be feeling it through them, all this energy. There is Juno is in Scorpio, so there is some talk about commitment or obligation also in relations to your 11th house of groups and friends. um, that comes up during this full moon. um, and it may have been on the back burner, or you're putting it on the back burner, this obligation or commitment, because Juno is retrograde in Scorpio. Um, I wanted to say something about else about that, but I can't remember. If I do, if it's important, I'll remember before I'm finished. Now we do have Mercury in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. So this is some kind of verbal altercation regarding your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity. Um, that's squaring Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is your second house of job, income, and your value system. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. It can be 100 different scenarios here, but you just be careful with this um, communication with your fifth house, that it doesn't escalate or spiral out of control, or it becomes some type of a verbal altercation because it's hitting your value system. Maybe something um, surprising or shocking about your love, romance, or children, is squaring away with your value system, or it can be about a job or income. um, I don't know what your lover can have to do with that. Maybe their values are not sitting well with whatever job it is, or maybe it's not their values and your values aren't matching. But one thing is, you have power, and as far as your values are concerned, or your job, um, definitely you have this group that is a very close brotherhood or sisterhood, a camaraderie. So you do have the upper hand, um, and you won't do drama. You will not stand for drama. So you'll know how to shut it down. Now we do have the moon in Scorpio that will trine Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. Very lovely. Again, this full moon either ending or fruition in regards to a friend or friends, um, is getting the nod. You're feeling a nice aspect without even the effort you put um, in your third house of communication, communication devices, commuting or modes of commuting, siblings, cousins, extended family, neighbors or neighborhood, vision, language, or social media. That's what Pisces is for you. It's your third house. So, whatever ending or fruition that's going on with your 11th house um, is definitely getting Saturn's approval. You've learned something about communication, Capricorn, um, that is enabling this ending or fruition of your 11th house. You might have had falling out with friends, or maybe there was a specific friend that was like a frenemy, maybe, or something like that. But whatever ending or fruition is coming about here is because of this experience that you've had with Saturn and your third house. Saturn is about rules, restrictions, constrictions, It's about crystallizing something that you've yearned for, and as far as your third house. Um, and this is a nice aspect. We do have, and this is the North Node is involved. So it's about karma paying you back, giving, you're owed. So you're getting this nice trine, and you will feel it. We will feel this trine because it's a full moon that's intense. It's an intense Scorpio, and it's with serious outer planet Saturn. Now we have Jupiter in Gemini that will square this time. This time it'll square Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. And Gemini is your sixth house of health, habits, routines, scheduling, taking care of someone, small pets. It is also called the house of chaos and gossip. So you have been very busy the past year, where these activities have expanded somehow. You have been making great strides here. Um, um, and at times it might have been overwhelming because it is your health and habits and your scheduling. So there might have been conflicts, um, not conflicts, but uh, yeah, a routine maybe was not your maybe job schedule was not matching up with your gym schedule, something like that. Or you had to be doing two things at the same time, um, multitasking as they call it. Um, and whatever expansion is coming about during this week, Saturn is saying no, not yet. Um, yeah, Saturn is saying no. You have a couple of just a little bit more learning or certification um, um, or rule that you have to master, because Saturn will be in Pisces until the end of May, and then it'll leave Pisces, and any rules or restrictions that you've had in regards to your communication or commuting, that is lifted. So this might be about a car or a mode of commuting. Um, you might be getting something new or a new communication device or a new neighborhood, new neighbors. It can be about that. But there's just and it might be you owing karma because it's the North Node also. There's something that you owe, and you're having to pay, and you're paying in time, as in you have to wait these few more weeks until Saturn leaves Pisces. It can be playing out that way, Capricorn. So yeah, just to wrap up, it's an ending or a culmination of your 11th house, which is opposing your fifth house. So friends, groups, associations, your vision, how you want to be seen amongst these people, is opposing friend, lover, romance, children, or creativity. Um, that's the summary or the gist of it. But I explained in what kind of scenarios it might be. It might be air quotes good opposition or air quotes bad opposition. I cleared that up in the beginning, and I gave you the other aspects and what it could mean. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. I answer all questions. The next video I'm going to upload for you guys will be about Saturn's next 2.5 year journey in Aries. That will begin um, at the end of the month. I'll upload that before your June scopes. All right, Capricorn. Sorry, I did this right after I came work, so it's like you can hear the birds chirping in the background. It's like 6 a.m. I'm completing that. All right, take care. I'll talk to you soon. Hello, Aquarius. So this is a dedicated video for the full moon in Scorpio, that is naturally opposing the Sun and Uranus, your ruler, in Taurus. Um, and I have put up the aspects and the degrees in the very beginning of the video if you want to match it to your natal chart. And also check out where Scorpio and Taurus falls in your natal chart. That just gives you another layer of what this could be about. But generally, Scorpio for you is your 10th house of career, status, your reputation, and authority figures. And it's also volunteer work here, like non paid work, philanthropy. And Taurus for you is your fourth house of home, family, your parents, your country, your clan, um, your patriotism. Um, excuse me. So we do have an ending in Scorpio. There's a full moon, um, or a culmination or a fruition of your past efforts here, and specifically to the past 6 months that you've done your work, your hard work here. We did have a new moon in Scorpio on November 1st, the beginning of November, um, that you either started a new opportunity or you seeded the hopes of starting something new in regards to your 10th house. Again, your career, your status, reputation, authority figures, a philanthropy or a volunteer sort of work that you started. And here we have the either you're ending that, or you're reaping the rewards. You're culminating or the fruition of what you've been working on. Um, but it is opposing your fourth house of home, family, your parents, your country, your clan, your pride. This is a natural opposition, in the sense as the more prestige, the more your career takes off. Naturally, the more you will be busy with that and less hands on with your home and family. Um, so it's a natural opposition. It's not really a bad opposition here. Oppositions don't necessarily have to be bad. They can be good where these two areas of your life, one area, you gain, you lose something in one area, you gain in the other. So both areas are important to you. Or you might, air quotes, lose in both areas to gain in both areas. Um, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad aspect. And you are not one of the signs that will be affected significantly with this full moon. Um, there's only four signs that'll be affected with this, but you're not one of the signs. All right. The other thing is there's a surprising factor of a surprising element to this, because we do have the sun conjuncting your ruler Uranus in Taurus. So there, and you've had like up and down roller coaster ride. Something each year there's been some significant surprising factor about your home and family or your parents, and um, this is another one this year before Uranus leaves Taurus. I guess we'll have this surprising factor. And we really don't know how Uranus works, but you're used to Uranus's energy as it does rule you. Um, the only situation is that Uranus just abhors any kinds of restriction or stalemate scenario. It's revolutionary. It wants to break free, and Taurus is really loves stability. So Uranus is having a hard time in Taurus. So there might be, something about your home and family or parents that's very fixed or wants to stay the same, and you want some kind of a change there. You want some kind of a freedom there. Um, so this might be the last kick that frees something up in regards to your home, family, and your parents here. Um, and this the sun conjunction, it is very very close here in regards to opposing this full moon in Scorpio, but it perfects on the 17th, so just a few more days. So this full moon ending might trigger this surprising element with your home and family. For some of you, okay, for some of you and who've had serious problems with relationships, this, or partnerships. And remember, partnerships can be platonic or business. Um, for some of you, whatever you're ending in as far as your status is concerned, because Scorpio, remember, 10th house status, single, not single, married, not married. Um, you might be keeping it a secret, but then it comes out, and that's the surprising element to your family or parents. Or maybe something about your parents surprises you and it affects your reputation somehow, because the 10th house also rules reputation. Or you could be getting engaged or going steady or serious, um, um, and that surprises your home and family or parents. Maybe they weren't expecting it and it comes as a surprise. Or maybe you have a single parent and your parent is surprising you with their new boyfriend or girlfriend, and that may come as a surprise as well. Um, but yeah, there's some kind of an ending culmination, fruition, and then there's this surprise factor that's coming up. Now we do have Juno in Scorpio. Naturally, it also opposes the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. So there's something about commitment or obligation that is being talked about during this ending or culmination of your 10th house. Um, and Juno is retrograde, so uh, it's somehow in the background, or this obligation or commitment is either like put on a back burner or in the background or in review. Um, the other thing is, we have Mercury in Taurus that will square Pluto in your sign. Um, so again, you have been changing. Pluto being in your sign is about how you physically look, how you appear, and your profile. It can be about your wardrobe, about your hairstyle, uh, about trinkets, about anything. But Pluto gives you a lot of power, or you influence, control. That's what Pluto does for you. So whatever this change factor that's been happening in the past few months since Pluto has entered your sign, um, there might be a tense discussion from your home and family or your parents. They might be giving you some advice here, and you're for the most part you're taking it in well, because Pluto has now stationed retrograde. So you are reviewing um, the changes that have been wrought upon you, or how other people see you, so you can be receptive to this discussion from home and family or parents. um, and a square, it can be a verbal altercation as well, so just um, just don't let it escalate, um, because you're in the more powerful position. You have Pluto, um, and Taurus is a fixed sign. You're a fixed sign, um, but your fourth house is a very important house for you. It's your house of roots, emotional roots. So the thing to with Pluto, Pluto teaches you how to be powerful, how to exude that power, how to step into your power, um, how to be influential. And the only way to do that with Pluto is through self control and discipline. If you see, when the saying goes, well, we say it, I don't know if, the more silent you are, the more confidence you exude. And you're able to do that. You're not really a very talkative person, in the sense as you don't you it's not that you're pragmatic. It's um, you don't like to waste words. You like to get to the point. So yeah, just with the Mercury and Taurus squaring Pluto in your sign, you will have the upper hand if you just use discipline and don't escalate whatever this verbal communication is. Or it can be, a square again can be a good aspect, where it jumpstarts a conversation that maybe was started and was shut down and put on the back burner. Um, Maybe something your home and family didn't want to breach or broach, but you wanted it, and it was kept on the back burner, and it's bubbling. So maybe this jumpstarts that that conversation, so that you can find some resolution. Now we do have a good aspect, a very good aspect. Moon, the moon in Scorpio, this full moon in Scorpio will trine Saturn and the North Node in Pisces at 28 degrees 58 minutes, at almost 2 minutes shy of that very critical 29th degree ending. Um, so again, Scorpio is your 10th house, career status and reputation and authority figures. And Pisces is your second house of job, income, and your value system, how you value yourself. So this is a very, very nice aspect. Trines are super soft aspects, or they're aspects where you don't put in any effort and it just comes together. It snaps. It's like two magnets snap together with no effort at all. So whatever ending or culmination of your 10th house status or career here, whatever you've accomplished here, is definitely has definitely come either through some type of learning that you've had uh, in regards to a job or about a value or something like that. Whatever you've learned here, it's satisfactory in releasing or ending or the culmination of your career and status. Saturn is approving of this. Your job, your income, your value system is approving of this. And again, if it is an ending, then yes, so be it. This is the right time. If it is an ending of a status where you're not single anymore or not engaged now, or it's getting engaged or getting married, again, your value system, because the second house can be a marriage house too, not necessarily, but it can involve marriage as well. Um, Otherwise, it's about a job. You may be completed, um, maybe an apprenticeship, maybe a certification of some kind or something. Um, Maybe some kind of yeah, with authority figures, maybe an apprenticeship. And this is, um, the culmination of it is now setting you up really nicely about a job and income, or your value, how you will be valued. But this is more about how you value yourself. But it's a nice aspect. And then we have Jupiter in Gemini that will square now Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. So Gemini is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, um, pets, and gambling. Um, so you've had this area of your life has been expanding for the past year now. And whatever this expansion is doing during this full moon or before or after, a few days, um, there is a square in regards to your job, income, and value system. Um, so if it is about a new romance or a lover, um, you might be still like in another relationship, and this is something new that's coming in, and that's just not sitting well with your value system. Saturn is not approving of that, um, and this can have roots in the past, or it's a karmic situation, maybe with your own children, um, that they're experiencing this, and you're feeling it intensely, uh, and it's some kind of a karma that that you're paying back or feeling it through others. So yeah, the full moon ending in Scorpio in your 10th house, trining Saturn in the North Node in Pisces, is about karma paying you back, and here it's about you paying karma back. So it's kind of a swap. So see what comes up with that. But yeah, that's the, and there's something about money playing out in the background, because natally Taurus and Scorpio are the two money access houses. So again, your own money, income, and something about joint finances or the mortgage, that's playing out in the background as well. Um, and you're becoming a little bit more mellow, maybe, towards partners, because Pluto is now going retrograde. So pay attention to things like that, because I consider it still stationary. It doesn't even move a few minutes. So you get epiphanies with that, of how you should act. And I told you it's about self-discipline and control. But I'm getting into other subjects now. It's about, but I wanted to give you just some different scenarios, some different clues about it. If you have any questions, Aquarius, please feel free to put them in the comments. I answer all questions. And the next video will be about the next 2 years of Saturn and Aries and what that means for you. Because at the end of this month, Saturn will be leaving Pisces, and all the restrictions, constrictions, and rules and obstacles you've had regarding your job, income, is going to lift, magically disappear. So we'll be talking about that in the next video. I'll talk to you then. Take care. Pisces. Hi, Pisces. Pisces, this is a dedicated video for the full moon in Scorpio, which you will be one of the signs that will be affected the most, or significantly. One of the four signs out of the 12 signs. And this full moon in Scorpio does oppose the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. So first, I do have the degrees and the aspects in the very beginning of the video. So you can, look at that and match it to your natal chart to see if any of those degrees match anything in your natal chart. These birds are so loud; it sounds like they're in my apartment. But yeah, I came right after work and I've been recording it throughout. And it's like 6 a.m. now, and the birds are waking up and they're chirping away. So sorry about the birds chirping and my pug snoring in advance. So yeah, so we have and match to your natal chart, and also look to see where Scorpio and Taurus um, fall in your natal chart. That'll give you yet another layer of what this could be about. Uh, but generally for Pisces, Scorpio, I didn't do it again. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Uh, Sorry about that. All right. So generally, Scorpio is your ninth house of higher education, long distance traveling, foreigners, um, publishing, and the World Wide Web. And Taurus is your third house of communication devices, commuting, modes of commuting, just general communication, social media, siblings, extended family, cousins, a very close community, neighbors, neighborhood, vision, and language. It's your need to be heard. Um, that's what Taurus is. That's your third house. Um, so this full moon is an ending, a finale, or the culmination or fruition of your past efforts here. And more specifically, to what you've been working on the past 6 months, since November 1st. That's when we had the new moon in Scorpio. So you either started a new opportunity then, or you seeded the hopes of something new. Um, and again, it's in relation to your ninth house of higher education or foreigners or long distance traveling, um, or publishing. Now, so it's either the ending or the completion of something here. Maybe, I mean, duh, it's like, for me, duh, not you. Uh, it's graduation now. People are getting their diplomas or certificates or vocational things. So it may, for many of you, it might be about graduating, graduate school, finals, theses, or what have you, essays or what have you. It's something about higher education. For others, it can be about foreigners or immigration or publishing. It could be about publishing, um, or the World Wide Web, or traveling. And it is also the house of philosophy, so it can be about traveling in the mind. It can be about that, but there is some sort of an ending here or a fruition. um, Now it opposing your third house of communication devices, language. I'm thinking with you. So, I always say oppositions, do not fear the oppositions. Some oppositions, yes, can be very air quotes negative, but I'm doing air quotes because nothing really is negative in astrology. Um, it's about the journey, not the end results. But in any case, oppositions can be good in the sense that these two areas of your life, in order for you to advance in one, you have to let go of the other. Or it could be, you let go of some of each house in order to gain in both houses. So oppositions can be good, or it can be, two opposing parties coming together and finding that resolution. So so it might be, like I mentioned, it might be because it's Taurus and your third house of communication. You might be going into communication, journalism, and you, or a speech class. You're getting accolades. You're completing something here, and that that's what your degree was dependent on completing something in communications, um, or language. And that's why we have the finale. You're getting your diploma, your certificate, or what have you. It can play out that way when I say like it's a good opposition. Now there is Uranus is in Taurus still. So your third house has had something of a up and down roller coaster, surprising factor to it for the past 6, 7 years. Each year, you might have a surprise or two in regards to your third house, and if you haven't had this surprising element this year, here it comes, because the Sun will conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Conjunction is a serious aspect, and the Sun is a very serious um, dynamic in our solar system. But this conjunction is perfected a few days after this full moon. So whatever you're ending in your ninth house, or culmination or fruition, whatever you're harvesting in your ninth house, that is setting up for this surprise factor in your third house. So, um, so it could be like, again, whatever you're accomplishing in your ninth house, you get this surprise in your third house. Maybe you get a graduation gift of like a car, because it is your third house of communication and commuting. Or maybe you get a new communication. You're getting all these gifts. Maybe you get a new phone or something, or a laptop, or what have you. Any technical devices also fall in the third house. Or maybe there's a surprise party, and your siblings, cousins, extended family all do surprise. I mean, I'm just trying to give you a scenario, a relatable scenario. I hate, well, I don't hate. I just, my style isn't to say, um, oh, be positive. Something positive can happen. I like to give real life examples so it can relate or click, or trigger like maybe something, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, it might be about this, or it'll be about this, or whatever. So I'm trying just to cover some bases and give you different scenarios. All right. We also do have Juno in Scorpio. That is, well, naturally also opposing the Sun and Uranus in Taurus. So again, Scorpio, your ninth house. So there's going to be talk also about commitment or an obligation in regards to your ninth house. But this is about a past commitment or obligation, because Juno is retrograde in Scorpio here. So during this full moon, again, there's also talk about commitment or obligation, and it could be again the completion of this commitment or obligation that's playing in with this. You've committed to something, and you've seen it through. Now you're just reviewing it, and you're harvesting what you worked on. We do have Mercury in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. Taurus is your third house, and Mercury is all about communication and commuting and siblings. So it's the same. So it's the same thing, and it's squaring Pluto in Aquarius. Now Aquarius is your 12th house of your very genius psyche. Uh, Aquarius is the genius of the zodiac, and the 12th house for you is the psyche, the past, secrets behind the scenes, taking care of someone. It is about faith and spirituality. It's also about confining spaces, um, about dreams and respite and all that. So Mercury in Taurus, that's a double whammy. And a square is a tense aspect about, again, the past or secrets, or just your psyche. Um, if just be careful with escalating maybe a comment or a discussion that doesn't sit well with you, and it becomes into like a verbal altercation. Just be careful with that. With neighbors, maybe with siblings, or cousins, or a close community. Road rage, just be careful of that. Pluto is all about empowerment, but it empowers through self-control and discipline. So use that to your advantage. Um, Silence is golden. It leaves you more mysterious and in control. So just in case it's a verbal altercation, and it explodes somehow. Uh, Hopefully it's not, but just watch your communication or your texts, sending the wrong text to somebody, um, um, or commuting. Definitely be careful of commuting. God forbid, you don't want any surprises with that, because some of you have had surprises with that, so just be very careful. And Pluto is retrograde, so um, it is giving us a relief, but sometimes when a planet retrogrades, it goes deeper, darker, and more under. So yeah, just be careful with all that, at least until Uranus leaves Taurus. That electrifying planet of chaos leaves your third house. Uh, and then, I won't be worried too much about you, Pisces. And like I mentioned, you are one of the four signs that'll be affected the most with this full moon. And it might be an emotional full moon. It might be an emotional, though, full moon in a happy sense, like a very excited, tears of joy kind of ending here. Many of you will be graduating, and it'll be a very nice culmination. As we see, one of the aspects is great segue. Moon in Scorpio trining Saturn and the North Node in your sign, Pisces, at 28 degrees, 58 minutes, 2 minutes shy of that critical 29th degree ending. And Saturn is all about restrictions, rules, patience, limits. And it has put these restrictions, rules, and limits on how you appear, uh, your profile, your wardrobe, your physical um, self. But this ending, or this culmination in regards to your ninth house, is trining Saturn and the North Node in your sign. Very lovely aspect. Trines, uh, we almost don't feel, but because it's a full moon, that's intense, in a very intense fellow water sign of yours, Scorpio, and because Saturn is a very serious outer planet exacting change, and the karmic North Node in your sign, you will feel this trine. You will feel this accolade. There's some type of an accolade, some type of a celebration of you, of what you have become, of your hard work that you have accomplished, and you are harvesting, is just putting your profile out and front and center. You are being valued for something that you've learned about how to carry yourself, about your profile, about your appearance. Um, and for some of you, it could be about your physical appearance. You might have lost weight and you're looking very, very good, very healthy. Um, or you might be pregnant, um, and you're looking absolutely brilliant. You're just glowing. Um, or it could be a new wardrobe, a new hairstyle, or new something. In any case, there's something that's being celebrated about your appearance through this culmination of the ninth house. Uh, and we also have Jupiter in Gemini that squares Saturn and the North Node in your sign, Pisces. And Gemini is your fourth house of home, family, your parents, um, your country, your patriotism. And this area of your life has been expanding for a year now. Um, you might have two homes. You might, yeah, two homes, or traveling between two homes, or maybe like a shared home. But something's expanded here. Um, and Gemini also rules siblings and cousins and all that. So that's playing out in the background. Now, the square to Saturn and the North Node in your sign could simply be, you know, whatever is expanding in your home and family or with your parents. You yourself may feel that it's just not reflective of how you appear, and you want to make um, maybe another physical change to match the new home and family expansion that you've been having. And you're getting a square from Saturn and the North Node, um, saying, well, it's just not the time right now. You've got a couple more weeks. And it has to do, of something in the past that, you may have rushed in changing about yourself. Because remember, Saturn rules, restrictions, obstacles, and constrictions. And it is leaving your sign at the end of the month. Those rules and restrictions are going to magically lift away. Um, and so that's what Saturn is telling you here. Um, is saying you just have a couple of more weeks to wait. So if you do have any plastic surgery um, appointments, please do them after Saturn leaves your sign, or any hard regimes, weight losses or gains or something. Try to put them off until June 1st at least. Um, because you've got 2 more weeks of Saturn, and it's a serious planet. So yeah, the moon in Scorpio trining Saturn and the North Node in Pisces. Remember, I just mentioned some accolades about some completion you've mastered in the ninth house, in the North Node. This is about karma paying you back. It's a trine, but this Jupiter in Gemini, your fourth home, squaring Saturn and North Node in Pisces in your sign. It may be about you paying karma for at least 2 more weeks. So that's the whole scenario. The other thing is, I'm going to mention that there's something about money playing out in the background. Your own money, and maybe joint finances, or not maybe, inclusive of joint finances, or the mortgage, inheritance, taxes, government grants and benefits, stipends, bank credits, and loans. Um, that's somehow playing out in the background because Taurus and Scorpio natally rule the two money axis houses. Um, and yeah, just a really intense full moon. Uh, um, it might have to do with, in conjunction with all these aspects that I mentioned, it might have to do also with some type of investigation. Not I don't want to scare anyone. I'm not saying like a serious investigation. I'm just saying like probing, finding the answers to something that might be puzzling, or that, because you're very intuitive, so you might think that something is not at face value here, and um, you might want to investigate a little bit more. So that theme is also playing out somehow, because Scorpio is an all or nothing kind of sign, and it does rule investigations and the past and secrets. Believe it or not, a lot of investigators, a lot of intelligence or military analysts have Scorpio stelliums usually. So that's what it's all about. I wanted to take a little more time for on yours, because you are one of the four signs that will be affected the most, and you are fellow water sign. All right. Um, I think that's the wrap up. Yeah, yeah. Something you're it's culminating and or ending. If you have any questions, Pisces, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. I answer all questions. The next video I'm going to be doing for you guys is Saturn's next 2.5 years in Aries, and what that means for each sign. So I'll be dropping that soon. Look for that. I'll talk to you then. Take care.